recording. Following guidance issued by the governor regarding the open meeting law, this public meeting will be held remotely. Individuals wishing to participate may do so using Zoom video conferencing technology. To join the meeting by video conferencing using a computer or tablet, you may click on the link listed on the agenda. To join by telephone only, please call the phone number and enter the meeting ID and the passcode, and the meeting is being recorded.
Okay, thank you. So we had scheduled a 7:30 discussion for discussion with Bob Keane, 36 Wilsondale. He's not on at this point in time, so we're going to move ahead, and we're looking at an RDA for 35 Brookfield Road for grading in the buffer zone. And Janet, why don't you fill us in on that?
Sure. So this is an RDA. And I'll be honest, the hard copy that I received of this really did not have enough information or detail for me to really evaluate it. What I received was an 8.5 by 11 black and white copy of a site plan. And then I issued my comments on Sunday, and then Monday, Lori sent out a message she had gotten from the applicant that showed a larger, much clearer site map. So unfortunately, I didn't have access to that for my report, but I thought for tonight, the applicant could share with us the site plan and describe what they want to do on the property. And then I would schedule a site meeting with the applicant to review the conditions.
Okie doke. And is it Ali Reza?
Yes, Al Sapir.
How do you pronounce it?
Al Sapir.
Oh,
Yeah.
Al Sapir. Okay.
Yes, yeah. Nice meeting everyone, and thanks for organizing the meeting. Yes, this has been filed a month ago. Lori had the digital file of this plans at the time of like few days after I submitted this. Unfortunately, I got this letter 48 hours before this meeting. I wish this was facilitated and was received faster. Regardless, as I said, I sent the original documents to Lori electronically, so it could have been printed on an 11 by 14 or any other paper size. But I'm happy to explain what the project is. I don't know if there's a share screen option that you have. I can even do it now. If you could allow me to share the screen, I could.
You should be able to share.
Okay, great. You guys see it?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So we have 2 permits with town, and again, you would excuse me for I'm a citizen. I'm not an engineer or contractor, so I am taking this on by myself. This part of the project. So we have 2 permits, one for the pool, which I think passed through Concom, and also another permit for the decking and everything. So we had a lot of ledge. Would you see my arrow here, or do you see my arrow?
Yep, we see that.
So we have a ton of ledge, as you can see here, and after weeks of hammering the ledge, the site elevation basically came up. So here is the 100 feet buffer zone, and again, the original plans are with town. So here where I'm pointing at through here, we have a very sharp grade. So that's which is kind of dangerous, and all the water and everything will be sweeping into the buffer zone. Issue number 2 is when we purchased this house 11 years ago, the line you can see here was and is our actual yard line, and we even have spigots here. We have sprinklers here, and this is grass. This is all grass. So after for this project, when we staked the property, when we put hay bales and everything, that's where the new line is. So what we're proposing is basically to avoid this very steep. And if someone visits the site within 5 minutes, it's very easy to see that, understand that. To avoid this steep grade difference, that's item number one. And then basically item number two is just going back to our original lawn delineation. We're proposing to go maximum of 25 feet here. This is the maximum. We have 23 feet here, and we have maximum of 15 feet on this side to go to our lines. And there are 3 dead trees here. After a storm, they're broken and they're dead. So we're trying to remove those if that's possible. And that's it. That's the scope of this project.
So if you can just I'm trying to figure out your 100-foot buffer is the dash line that's there.
This is the one in red. This is
Okay, and then
this is
the
red.
dash line of the dash line closer to the house, the next one up. Yeah, right, that one there. You know what
This-
that signifies?
That is a limit of 600-year depicted. I don't know what that is. 500-year. I don't know what that is, but that's nothing to do with our buffer zone or anything.
Okay, and so was this, you're saying this, you have a previous plan with a for conservation work that was done within the buffer?
For the
Before?
pool, the pool, because of permit we had, conservation conservation commission also looked at our plan basically. So this
Because that's why I'm since we don't have the entire plan, we don't have like the original of that plan there. That line going to the corner is would seem possibly that it would be the 100-foot buffer, because if the buffer is as you're showing it, there'd be no reason for us to have the pool in front of us. Do you see what I mean?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm not following. So this is the edge of the pool. What I'm showing is
Correct.
the edge of the pool,
And
which
you're
is
saying
away,
that was the,
which is
and that
away
was in
from,
front,
which
right,
is
you're
away
saying that
from
was,
the- yeah.
you had a conservation review for the pool at one point.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so the question I have there, based on this plan that's showing us, the only line that I see going through that is what you're saying may be the 500-year storm. But if the buffer is actually off the corner of the pool, then there would have been no reason for you to come in front of us for conservation. So I'm wondering whether the line that's shown there,
No.
going through the corner of the pool, is the actual conservation
No,
line.
it's not. As I said, the one that when I submitted the all the documents, they said one copy goes to the Board of Health, one copy goes to different departments. I don't recall which other department went to in parallel. And I stopped before even the project and talked to Lori, showed all the plans. And because this is away from 100-foot buffer zone, there were no need to basically review this.
So you're saying that the board that reviewed your pool was actually the Board of Health, it was not conservation?
I'm not sure how many different departments. I submitted one application and then
Okay.
yeah, I don't
So-
recall exactly how many. No, I know permitting department, building department, Board of Health, they all reviewed our application. I know that.
Right, no, I'm just saying, we're just trying to determine whether things are within our jurisdiction. And so what we see is somebody's handwritten, 100-foot buffer line, then we see another line there. And you've mentioned that you were before, it seemed like us, but I'm not sure. And so I'm just trying to get an idea of what it is we're looking at. Lori, did we have any record of this, of 35 Brookfield? Do we have a file or anything on
I
that?
don't think they had to file with conservation for the previous work that was done. I think they were outside the buffer zone.
Okay, so that helps clarify things. So now we're looking at the other question I had, Al, is you're mentioning that the grade continues to get down pretty steeply there.
Yes, because this is what I'm showing because of all the ledge and because of grading of the pool. It's raised up a few feet. I would say more than 5, 6. It's pretty high. So
I'm trying to get a sense of, if the grade goes down that far, what is it you want to do within the shaded areas?
what I want to do is I want to basically grade it very smoothly, just a very smooth slope to get to this area and restore our lawn. That's all I want to do. I don't want anyone to fall from this like 6, 7 feet of elevation into down here, because that's
So you,
the line I'm showing here. All of this area that I'm showing right now is elevated, is
right.
again, more than I would say 6 to 7 feet.
So
So
did the lawn erode over time because of that grade? Did it wash
no,
away?
this grade is new. This grade is brand new. The lawn here is still existing.
Oh, okay. Then I think I'm missing something in terms of not having a cross section of seeing. Uh, uh, do you want to? But you want to bring in additional dirt to flatten that lawn out a bit to?
Exactly. So let me
Okay.
explain one more time. So this was all ledge,
Yeah.
and this basically we hammered all the ledge. Because of that, this entire section that I'm highlighting is elevated. Prior to that, this was our yard. This whole thing was our yard and was a lawn. There is still lawn here. As I said, there are sprinklers here and lawn here. And I don't know as the buffer zone moves or whatever happened, but since we got to this place, this was our line. This was our lawn. So right now, the issue is we have stakes here, we have hail bales here. This area here is like 7 feet higher than this area. So what I'm trying to do is, again, bring some dirt here, make this transition kind of smooth and delve into the 225. I think if you go to 25 feet, that grade will be smoother, wouldn't be as sharp. And then basically we have lawn there and just restore the lawn.
So again, how did the lawn disappear? Was that with you trying to get rid of some of the ledge, or what
didn't-
happened to the old
Yeah,
lawn?
it didn't disappear. It's just is in bad shape right now
I
because
see.
it is lawn, but it's in bad shape.
But it's also very steep. Do you happen to have any photos?
Right now, I don't think maybe, but how do you want me to email it to you, or how do you want maybe
No, if they're on the
might-
same computer, you might be able to share, but if they're not,
maybe no, I do, but you got to give me some
well,
time.
tell you what, since this is there seemed to be some confusion about getting the digital rendering of this. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but it is in the buffer. It is a little confusing because I'm seeing if you have a 7-foot drop over 25 feet, if you're looking to bring that up by say 4 feet, make it a little rounder, is that what you're looking to do?
Yeah, we just want to make this safe, and again, put lawn there where it was. That's it.
Right. So the concern there is how much fill you're looking to bring in, and if you make it flatter, you're still going to have quite a drop when you get to the end of the 25-foot line on the right side there. And
No, that would be let me see. I do have some. Okay, I do have a picture here actually.
okay.
Let me share this with you. Oh, I gotta share a new one here. Okay. So, okay. So this is an older picture, but this is the location of the pool. This is where the stakes are. The black is where the stakes are. The bale is. Now this is the elevation, the new elevation, and this the stakes and the hail bale continue around it, basically here, right? This is our existing lawn here, as you can see there, lawn, and the 3 dead trees we're proposing are right here in this corner. So here, right here now, we have quite an elevation. What we're proposing is just to make this smooth, go back there, restore this lawn, and that's it.
So did you always have that high elevation there?
No, just because of the ledge. Because when we broke all the ledge, that's the new elevation, and that's the elevation of the pool. So
you spread things out and created the higher elevation there.
correct, because this pool could not be in.
No, I'm just because I'm looking at the ledge that's on your original plan, and it shows how steep that ledge was as it dropped down, and then it stops. So okay, so you've created this higher elevation to basically get rid of the stuff that you had to excavate for the pool.
Sure. But one caveat, we have this part of yard that was very, very high, this part of, and there was steep here. So we hammered this part and spread it all.
Right. So you smoothed everything out there.
Exactly.
Okay. And now you have a 7-foot drop that goes from the edge of the black silt fence there to where your old lawn is going towards the trees.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And you want to fill that in going towards the trees so that you have more of a transition.
Exactly.
Okay, and the question then is, you're in the outer part of the buffer, which we don't have anything that actually shows, well, you know, now as I look closer on a different screen, I have your other plan up. I can see what you had in red was the 100-foot buffer. So there's gray underneath that. So you're looking to extend into the buffer. And my concern is when you try to make that a smooth transition, filling in over 25 feet to drop 7, you have a 1 in 3 slope, basically. Actually, more than that. And it's still going to be steep unless you're looking at rolling it off and only doing maybe a 4-foot drop in elevation. And so that may need a little bit more thought on your end.
Well, our landscapers, they're working with this team in Newton, Leone. I don't know if you know the team. They're pretty the experts on doing this for a long time. They said this will be sufficient for them to make this smooth, basically this grade. And
okay. And did they draw up plans for your backyard when when they were doing the landscape and patio design?
Patio was not part of their yes.
They drew up a plan.
That's the same plan we used. Yes.
Okay, so it would seem that we don't see the elevations, the newer elevations there. And we haven't been out. It might be helpful to be out on site, but I'm just letting you know as a builder by trade, so I'm just familiar with the grades that are going to be pictured here. That you may want to have your landscape designer let you know what sort of slope you're going to have there.
Sure. They told me it's not going to be not going to be extremely smooth, but definitely whatever it's going to be smoother than this. And
okay.
We don't need that part of the yard in terms of usage. It's just we wanted, again, the transition to be a little smooth and not dangerous for people falling basically from that
right.
That corner.
Okay, so it's not, it may not be functional, but it will be safer.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
so Janet, just so we see this apparently we received this at an earlier date, and I don't have an answer for that. But what's your sense on how you'd like to proceed on this?
So I would like to have a larger scale map with and a little bit more of a descriptive narrative in terms of the amount of fill to be brought in and where that fill would be and how that will change the elevation. This is in the outer buffer, but the buffer is a presumed protected resource. So I think it makes sense to understand the rationale for this. Would a fence provide enough of a protective area if this isn't going to be used lawn area? And then also towards the right side where you say the 3 dead trees are going to come out, that area looks like it's naturalized, and that's the area you want to convert into a lawn. Is that correct? Or that's there are 2 areas, there are 2 ovals, it appears, that you want to convert back into lawn.
Let's go one by one items you mentioned. Why would you need a larger map? I've already submitted maps, plans, and honestly, from a citizen standpoint, everything you ask cost me thousands of dollars. Every additional plan. I have to go back to the engineer. I have the buffer line. I depicted on it by my architect. So it's costly to me to go and provide another. You have a digital plan. So please tell me why would you need a larger?
So I just meant I only received a hard copy 8.5 by 11. So I just need a larger scale map of what you provided so that when I go out to the site, I can actually
print it. Sorry to interrupt you, but this could be printed out. This is a digital file. You can print it as large as you want.
So
you don't have a professional printer in my house. So you have the digital, you can zoom it, you can expand it and use it. That's the reason it's the digital.
So what I'm seeing here on the lower right side of the digital plan is it's 1 inch equals 20 feet. So have you seen, Ali, on your, is there a full-size plan of this? Have you ever seen one printed by the landscape architect, or has it all been
I
digital?
have a full-size plan that for original plans, but that doesn't have these depictions of what we're trying to do with the grading. So that's what I'm referring to. If I send this back to the engineer and the architect is
Oh, no,
plotting.
I understand that. So no, I'm wondering if we have a printer at the town hall where if this, sometimes when you see something like this has been shrunk by a designer so that when we go to print it at full scale, it still isn't that big. We can go ahead and adjust it, but then the distances may not be the same. So that's, I just don't know if the digital version that we have is actually will print out to be a 24 by 36 version. That's all. The question I have for Janet is, you've seen the digital version tonight. If that was printed on something that gave you a bigger than 8.5 by 11, would that fulfill your concerns about this?
I think it would, and that was in my notes. I said we need something at least 11 by 14 so that I can go out on the site and confidently assess it, but also so that we have something in the file that can be read down the road.
Understand. Okay, so Laura, is this something that you could print out?
This is something that I could only print out on my printer in the office.
Okay, so the plotter that we have, could it be printed on that?
Uh, I can't do that from my computer. Maybe somebody else in
Oh,
town
so
hall
you can
can.
only make large scale copies, but you can't print,
I can
right?
send copies to my computer. I can ask around town hall. Some people have different access. Maybe somebody else can print
So you've never
from.
been able to print a full 24 by 36 plan. You've been able
I
to make
don't think I could
copies.
get it to be that big. I really don't.
Well,
And
we
then
don't need it
you
to be,
say
it
it
can be
wouldn't.
half, it could be half that size, but
Yeah, I can try my best. I mean, I can do 11 by 17 on the regular copier,
Mhm.
uh, but on the plotter,
Okay. Well, number one, can you do the 11 by 17? Number two, just for the sake of seeing if, we should know if you can do this. If you go in on the PDF and when you tell it to print, tell it uh, let me see what it's called. Excuse me. Um, Basically, you can tell it to default and see if it gives you a full 24 by 36. And if not, you can change the percentage on the PDF and then tell it to print it as custom and see if that works.
I'll see what I could. I did try to enlarge this on our regular copier, which goes to 11 by 17, and it wasn't picking it up right, but I don't think it's going to happen on the plotter, and I don't know if anybody else can do it either. Like I said, I'll ask the other departments, but I don't think anybody can print from a PDF. I don't think the machine is
Really?
set up that way. But our IT people are in tomorrow, so if it can be
Okay.
done, they'll be able to help me do it.
Okay. Ali, your copy on this makes me think that it's a smaller than full-size copy. Do you have the hard copy of this?
I gave one hard copy to no, I gave a PDF printout from my own
Right.
printer to Lori.
Oh, that's off your own printer, but
Right.
it's just a,
So
it
one
doesn't
suggestion
have
I
it
have.
doesn't have a letterbox. It doesn't have a number of things that normal designs would have, which is not unusual if a landscape architect does it. My question is whether its native format prints out onto a larger format, and the larger format is something that we do require. Having them print that out should not be very costly, and so there should be virtually no cost to it. Not to speak for their business, but it's not a major deal. But we can't really deal with an 8.5 by 11 on this. But we
Just
are willing to accept something
yeah,
larger
so
than that, but smaller than 24 by 36. basically what we're looking for is a scaled plan.
Um,
Okay,
so my architect used our original plot plans and then with basically pen delineated that. So that's again to save us cost. But if I have to
right.
ask, then I have to pay extra for that. So that's
Well, right now that plan says 1 inch equals 20 feet. And I don't know if that's true for the printout. Actually, matter of fact, I'm going to print it now and see what I come up with. And let's see. I think the only other thing relative to, and Jen, I'm not really sure where this is, how important this is. We're in the outer buffer. There was a question of how this would, okay, how that would roll over. And in terms of if you had it over that 25 feet, you had to drop 4 feet, then at the end, you're still going to have a 3-foot roll of soil. Do you see what I mean, Ali, on that?
yes.
Okay,
Still
so
gonna be it's gonna be on a slope. Regardless, we will have a slope. We can't
right, right. So and you could, and you may be that you go 4 feet down and you don't, it's just fully sloped, you're not, matching that. Just something, even that could be a hand done thing where somebody just does the hypotenuse of it and what they're looking at so that we have an idea what you net out as for slope. Excuse me just a moment. I'm just pulling out a scale to take a look at this.
So basically, these measurements, my landscaper and the architect, they all met at the site and measured basically from the staked 100 feet buffer to this 25. So that was. So I think if someone visits the site, will probably conclude the same kind of.
Yeah, I mean, a site visit may address this, but I'm just letting you know that printing this out at full size, based on the digital copy that you sent us, it does not scale out, so that what we're seeing here, and I just changed a connection, and let me just see if it changes anymore. But so that's the only thing I'm seeing there is also in your photo. Does the ground where the grass comes to the end, does the ground go up from there, or does it stay on the same?
No, it doesn't go up, meaning towards the woods.
Does it continue to slope down towards the woods, into the woods? Does the slope continue to going down, or does it rise
No,
up
it's
at all?
just flat. Everything is flat. At the level of the lawn, everything is flat.
Okay. Let me just playing my print here. Anyway, I think this would require a site visit by Janet. And your landscape architect to just draw you a slope, or you can draw one doing the math yourself. To get that could be handled on a site visit. Actually, Janet, and if you need, I can be available for that site visit.
Okay.
I have another picture here, if I may share. I think that would probably help a little bit more. This is from another angle, basically.
Yeah, so I can see where the net, you would bring that down at a 3-to-1 slope. And the part of the reason I mentioned the concern about sloping is when you get steeper, you may have heavier rainfall runoff, which could affect area beyond within the buffer there.
Right, but we try to mitigate that basically for what we do, because right now is the most radical possibility, correct?
Based on what, right, but basically you've actually changed the grade on the outside, outside of the buffer there. So now you're looking for the permission to change the grade inside to accommodate for the higher grade that you created. So
Correct.
that's I think this may do you have wooden stakes on your property
Yeah, yes.
that you can bring to a meeting?
Oh, I mean, you mean I do
I
have,
want, it basically, we want to see what, the whole thing is, we want to see, Jen, is there, outside of seeing the slope of this, is there anything that gives you any concern relative to what he's requesting here in terms of changing? This appears to be the only change. Is there any other information you would need from him?
So a couple other questions or concerns. The first is, how did you arrive at the 100-foot buffer? On
we
what
have
basis?
plans. We have engineering plots and plans. We have all those.
You had a wetland scientist evaluate and delineate the wetlands? on the
Of course,
site?
of course.
Oh, okay.
And
So
when,
that would be
and that
helpful.
was done for when you did the pool, is
Yes,
that, this
before-
plan is
before-
originally from the,
Before I started doing anything, I basically have a site plan. I had a site plan, I paid for wetland delineation, measuring buffer zone, everything was staked. So that's what, and I have all of those hard copies at the property. When you visit, I can show it to you.
And
Okay, and-
so have you submitted that to the Dover Concom?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you submitted that to Lori or to the office?
We submitted our plan, but because it was outside the buffer zone at the time of putting the pool in, it was outside the buffer zone. So, yeah, there was nothing to be done in the buffer zone at that time.
okay, so basically what we have is you had a plan done up for things that were outside the buffer. They showed the 100-foot buffer zone as part of that. They may not have done the additional paperwork required to prove that that's actually the buffer zone because they weren't concerned with it. As far as they were concerned, they were outside of it, and they went to the building inspector as well as the Board of Health, and the engineers who originally did this attested that you were outside the buffer,
Correct.
and you weren't held any accountable in any more detailed manner because you weren't in front of us.
Correct.
So normally when somebody comes to us and they say, here is our 100-foot buffer, we ask, how do you know?
Okay, I have plans. It's very simple. I have all
Yeah.
those.
So do your engineer plans extend so that they go beyond the beyond what we're seeing here, or is this the extent? We see the tree line.
No, I can even I may even have it on the computer right now if
Okay.
can.
John,
If you-
I just want to do a super quick time check. I think we're supposed to be a ways into, I think 92 to Maine. So we might want to, we don't have a terrible long agenda for hearings. We might want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Anna. I was about to say the same thing.
Okay, yeah, I think that given that we, for the only reason I've let this go on is because there was some confusion as to the timing of when we actually received this digital copy. We also have not received a full-size copy of the plan. So you were saying, Ali, did you find that plan?
I have the plan in a second if I. Let's see. You got to give me some time. I don't think I've.
Okay.
Okay. So
So
I have one plan here that was submitted for the pool.
to Board of Health or to whom?
To the Board of Health, but yes, that was I can share it again.
So we're looking for a plan that shows that goes all the way out to your lot lines. I see a notation of 82 feet
So-
that I'm assuming that goes to your lot line. Okay.
There is one here.
Okay. Yep. There we go.
Okay, so that is our, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So on this lot line here, and yeah,
Okay. So on the edge of wetlands is off your property.
yeah.
Okay. So the okay, why don't you forward that plan to Lori, please?
Sure.
That gives us a more complete thing. I think the best bet here is to well, Janet, so it looks like we're probably not going to he may not have had help me out here. The wetland forms, the wetland delineation forms that you normally look for in this circumstance. And given this is in the but it does look like things were delineated by somebody. and most likely in the outside portion of the buffer. Is that something, given the scope of what this actually is that something that you could work with?
Yeah, I think so. But so we do, if Lori, if you send Lori a PDF, we still have that same problem. So if we could have a full-size scale copy of this plan, a hard copy.
Actually,
sent
I
to
would say, so Ali, to make
This-
this, I know you're concerned about costs. You can email this to FedEx in Needham and or bring a thumb drive in and you can print out a full-size copy there.
That's fine. I'll find a full-size copy, but I need to understand from my own knowledge, what would that bigger hard copy do in additional to this digital plan?
Well, number one, it would show, it would confirm the scale that you're showing on the smaller one. On the smaller one, I just measured it and it's at least half a size smaller than what it says it's 1 inch equals 20 feet. And that's not, when I printed it out at full size, it didn't match that at all. So this has been something that's been adjusted. The one you have up now may print out as a full-size plan. But at the very least, you should see what you can do to get it closer to scale. And that's where printing it out at FedEx would help.
John,
Yeah.
This is an RDA.
Yeah,
We typically will accept a handwritten sketch for an RDA.
yeah, and I think that the
And why,
concern,
I'm just questioning,
Yeah.
why do we need something way beyond that? Just,
well, I guess one of the concerns is the buffer real? But given that I see a stamp on this, I'm willing to, in the minimal nature of this is the first plan that's shown us more of the there. It's a better proof that that's actually the buffer line. So
Mhm.
then I think that would come into play. I think that's why I asked earlier if Lori can print a larger version of this, I think we'll be fine. The reason I asked for the stakes, Ali, is that we, on the site visit, we may just put some stakes out there so that you can show us what the slope would be. And
Stakes, you mean new stakes? Because the old stakes are there, obviously, for the buffer zone.
right, but do you have any old stakes floating around?
Yes, of course, all the stakes are still there. We haven't removed any.
No, but I'm just saying we want.
Oh, you need like
sacrificial stakes.
actual physical stakes?
Yeah, basically we need 3 stakes. We're gonna run a line from your grade and we'll run it down to where your proposed grade is, and we'll be able to see the slope right there.
We'll find something. This is the war zone here right now, so we'll find a piece of wood.
Yeah, so you have plenty of wood. So, okay, why don't we do that? Why don't you set up a time with Janet for a site visit?
Okay, when's that gonna be? How soon would that be?
So I will need copies of the plans before I come out.
So
So
I'll email Lori right now. I will email this file that is basically you guys said it's sufficient. I'll just email her the stamp plan.
Okay, and then we can, if you can print this as large as you can on 11 by 17.
and also the plan that came in with the RDA, if that could
That's
be.
the original one I was talking about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Okay.
one.
I don't think I'm not in disagreement with either Tim or Ali here that this is the main thing is not showing the grade. It's easy enough to do on site. And then and that's why I wanted to ask Janet, if he shows grading as he's representing here, is there any other thing that you would need to have?
I would just want to confirm any other tree removals or impacts.
Which
with
can be done on site.
Yep, and then if any heavy machinery is going to be used in the back, and then
No.
also,
The answer is no. The answer is no. So we already depict 3 dead trees there. You will see it on the site, and no heavy machinery in that area. And that's the reason we went to 25, because we really don't need that space. We don't want to go beyond that. It's just to preserve grade and go back to the lawn. So there's nothing going to be done there.
Got
okay,
it.
so just a brief narrative confirming all of that.
It was in my original application.
I didn't see any of that in your original application.
Well,
Okay, just then cut and paste if you sent it, Ali. Let's get this going so that we can create a discuss with Janet offline via email a date. Janet will let me know. and let's not.
Thank you. No,
we
I
don't-
appreciate your time. I know it took longer than what it's supposed to. And usually, what's your turnaround time, Janet?
Let's see, as soon as I get the site plan maps and have a chance to look at those, then I can get back to you in a couple days.
Couple of days. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, because
Okay, thank you.
we need the time. The time is an essence. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's see, next what I have is 10 Draper Road. Is that still on tonight's agenda?
Hi, guys.
Oh, yep, I guess it is. Marty's here. So, Janet, why don't you fill us in?
Sure, this is a straightforward RDA. They are not going to be expanding any footprint, but they're converting an existing patio that is under a deck and
Mhm.
creating an enclosed home office. Again, the footprint of the property will remain unchanged. They are in riverfront. They are close to the wetland. They're 12 feet from a BVW, but it is already disturbed. All work will be done by hand, no excavators, bobcats will be used. They're also proposing to relocate an existing propane tank, which will be further away from the wetlands. And there is existing erosion control and caution tape there now from a recent previous determination of applicability permit for their deck project. So I think my only question was whether Lori had received the abutter green cards or the certificate of mailing for the project.
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Artie, is there,
Yeah.
are you guys gonna have to put in sonotubes or anything like that to support this? Or are you putting it right
No,
on the
it's
patio?
all in inside.
Oh, it's already currently inside?
Yeah, I can show you the pictures. They should be self-explanatory if you give me a moment.
Mhm.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, John, there's an existing slab all the way there. Just to add a little detail, there's actually a storage room that's already a
Mhm.
fully enclosed room that we're just converting.
Okay, no, I was just, my concern was whether the building inspection was gonna say you need to put footings in.
Yeah.
Which would then usually, require some machinery, or patient, handwork. Okay, go ahead, Janet. Any, you made a recommendation on this?
Yes, so there are 3 waivers that are being requested. The first is disturbance in the 50-foot, a structure within the 70-foot, and they are requesting to waive the waiver fees.
Mhm.
So I do recommend that the 50-foot and 70-foot waivers be approved under our grandfather policy. Since this is previously disturbed area and there are no alternatives, the commission should discuss whether the waiver fees are justified to be waived. And then I have, let's see, 7 special conditions.
Okay. Artie, I see you have, photos up already. Do you want to show us the existing photo?
Sure. Can you see this one for this?
No,
Is
I
it
just saw
showing?
your file with all your photos, but,
Yeah. Hold on, I have to go one by one. Hold on a second. When I share it. I need to open all the pictures first.
okay, we just need 3 of them. The only reason I'm asking to bring them up is relative to waiving, the waiver waive request there.
Yeah,
If this is already undercover, what the commission, feels like, there's very little additional construction going on.
see it?
Okay,
So it's all covered. There is already a floor. We're just closing this area in here on the outside.
mm-hmm.
I'll give you
Okay.
another shot. Uh, See, here is that propane tank that we need to relocate,
Yeah.
and this is the area underneath. So we basically we're enclosing only one side in here.
So,
Mhm.
so,
Okay.
so you're not actually touching the ground.
That's correct. There is already a concrete slab in there. We're
Yeah,
just
okay.
closing.
So-
We,
Yeah.
we want to, given the history, we wanted to be very
Yeah, no,
transparent
no,
with
I
you guys.
understand.
And so
I-
above board, you guys were great with the deck. So we wanted to just be very
Mhm.
upfront with you guys.
Right,
Go
people
ahead,
people
Tim.
used to ask when you need to file, and I used to tell them, theoretically, if you put a shovel in the ground in the 100-foot buffer zone, you need to file. But you're not putting a shovel in the ground, so
Mhm.
this should be
Yep.
easy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so given all that, which makes an interesting point. So the only thing you're bringing a small amount of material in over the area that you already brought stuff over with the previous RDA. So Tim, do you think this still requires an RDA determination?
Actually, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I mean, since he's already done it, we just waive everything else and say, okay, you know, that's. I don't think you need the waiver, any of the waivers, because you're not actually touching anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you guys can indulge us, we would love to get an approval from you tonight, but without the special requirements that Janet had put in. One of the special requirements that Janet wanted to discuss was to require the homeowner to put bounds because he's enclosing one side of the house. It seems to me like it's an overkill, but is that something that the board is willing to waive as far as not making us put bounds?
Are there those bounds, were those bounds that were required for a different job, or are they?
No, this is just because of this.
So, well, I'm asking Janet on this.
Oh, sorry.
So Janet, are these bounds for bounds that were supposed to have been installed, or are you looking for new bounds?
You know, I didn't look back to the deck RDA, but I don't think we required bounds. I am recommending signage just because this is so close to the wetlands. And then it was an open question for the commission whether you needed permanent bounds.
Okay. And I think there's a fence there. Everything, you know, the topography works that, you know, people know not to walk off and die.
Yeah, it's very steep there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't see a need for bounds. I think we have bounds elsewhere on the property, but this is pretty constrained in terms of what can actually be done there. We have signs elsewhere. What I don't recall is that fence that goes along the side of the house. That is where your construction fencing is currently. Is there a sign anywhere along there?
No, so that's after we do this, we've talked about sorry, they're currently you know, staking and stuff, but the signs we said we would discuss when the project is completed with Janet. But that's sort of we haven't gotten the deck project is still ongoing because of the snow and the ice.
If you recall, John, one of the things that we discussed when we were going through the deck project was that you wanted to have signs on this fence in here, just so that when landscapers come, they can see that sign, or when they come in the park, they would see the sign in here. Because we have a deck in here and we'll have windows and view on this side, to put a sign right in front of your window to say, you know, 5 feet away, be careful. I would think that might be an overkill, but
move this plan and further up the screen so we can see the front of the house. No, the other way. Okay, and then zoom in just a little bit. Okay, so where you're looking to relocate the propane tank?
yeah, this is where we put it, the relocate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So it would seem that somewhere you have to mow the grass going along that side there.
Correct.
And so see where 19 feet goes? Where the arrows are 19 feet? I would see where the right-hand arrow is against that fence. I could see a possibility of adding a sign
Yeah.
there to tie in with the other signs. And
Yeah.
again, that location would be open to discussion in the field.
Yeah, that's
So-
fine.
so-
What we were trying to avoid having to put something
No,
in
no, I
here right in
understand
front of
that,
the
right.
deck.
I'm just saying the whole idea is when landscapers come in to do things, and we know that they access things by the drive on the left side, they have to access the grass on the right. We don't want them throwing things over the fence or anything like that, so we'll figure out a place to put a sign over there.
Yeah, no, totally. I just want to point out that that's actually not, it's actually much narrower. That's a retaining wall. And so that right-hand side is actually like down, below on a very steep grade. But yeah,
Okay.
we're happy to work with you guys about the signs. We talked about it also in the back when we're done. We'll
Okay.
do a site visit with Janet and
Okay.
find the right place for all the signs.
Great, thank you. So, question here, Tim,
Yes,
relative to entertain a motion here, is on a perfunctory basis, are we granting the RDA and waiving waiving any waivers or and waiving our requirements because the work is not
There-
applicable for that?
yeah,
There is no ground disturbance.
yeah, I would say that this theoretically did not have to come before us.
Mm-hmm. So the
So-
but it's very, very much appreciated that it did.
Right,
And I think and since it is, the idea of at least tidying things up so that anybody comes along in the past, excuse me, in the future, that it's clear that this was done with permission. So let's go ahead and come up with the right wording, Tim, to make this go through as easily as possible.
sure, okay, how about, move to dismiss all waiver requirements?
Mm-hmm.
Second,
All in favor, Tim,
Aye,
Anna?
Aye.
Amy,
Hi.
Sarah,
hi,
and I'm an aye.
okay, move to, issue a negative determination of applicability for the project. And, you want to include the special conditions? Sure.
What special conditions that, most of the
There's
stuff is already
nothing
there.
that's,
With no special conditions, I would say.
Everything else has already been addressed with the
Well-
previous, it's still there, but,
yeah,
Uh,
there's nothing here that's gonna,
So I was thinking if we say that we approve it with no special conditions, that might be sufficient.
So the special conditions I outlined, the first was signage, the permanent bounds we've deleted. The next is no stockpiling within the 100-foot buffer zone. The next is all construction materials and equipment shall be stored outside the 100-foot wetlands buffer zone. That's standard.
Mhm.
And then as proposed, all work shall be done by hand and no excavators, bobcats, or other heavy machinery shall be used for the project. And then 7 is that the existing erosion control needs to be maintained and monitored.
I think that's appropriate.
Well,
yes, I don't-
it's not, we can't put the stockpiling outside the 100-foot buffer. The entire driveway is inside the 100-foot buffer.
No, I'm saying, well, you've done that before, apparently, because that's what you agreed to. In this particular case, the work that's being done is, and there's no, you're not looking at any fill material, is that correct?
That's
You're just
correct.
looking
Right.
at lumber, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the lumber-
so, yeah, just as a reference point, John, you guys let us in the RDA last time store stuff on our driveway. We had the same discussion last time. You
Yeah.
let us stockpile. So if we could just
Yeah.
tweak those conditions to let us keep materials on the driveway in front of our final
okay,
garage.
sure,
Yeah.
You just don't call the 100-foot, that's all I'm saying.
No,
right.
Because we can't be
So-
outside the 100-foot buffer.
So, in including the special conditions and with the exception of the stockpiling, which may be done on the driveway.
And deleting the reference to
And
bounds.
deleting the need for permanent bounds.
And
Anything else?
and Tim, sorry, just the construction materials also can be stored on the driveway. We just want to have everything.
Oh,
Yes,
no,
that's what I meant.
That was the first thing he said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are two separate ones, actually. Stockpiling and construction materials are technically
Oh,
separate
sure.
conditions.
Yes. Yes. Both.
Okay.
Great.
And any storage areas can be done on the driveway.
Yep,
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to put it
Thank
on the
you.
street. And that wouldn't be
Okay,
good.
do I hear a second?
I said second. Sorry. I don't know if you heard.
Okay, didn't hear it. All in favor? Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Hi.
Anna.
Aye.
Sarah,
Hi.
and I'm an aye. Okay.
And Lori, I'm sorry about that. That was a little complicated.
Now, Lori, if you can distill that down to 15
Okay.
words, please.
Oh,
That'd be
I'm
great.
hoping that AI is gonna help her or whatever.
So,
Okay.
okay, great. Go forth and close.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Have a lovely
You're
evening.
welcome.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Ugh.
Okay, next we have, let's see, so can the 88 Pine Street, is that
88,
continued?
we're gonna ask for a continuance. I just want to inform the board that Deb was able to get in touch with DEP, and it appears that the finding that Janet had using the federal USGS map holds. So Deb is looking into how we're gonna address this, because being a drought season, and how we're gonna prepare the report or what needs to be done. So I have contacted the homeowners, asking them to give me the okay to propose vegetation protection in front of the existing edge of lawn, so that we offer to protect more of the brook. They haven't given me a response yet, so we'll be coming back to you guys on the next meeting. But for right now, I wanted to let you know where we stood. So we're asking for a continuance.
Thanks, Artie. I
Yes.
wasn't here at the last meeting.
Yep,
So I guess, did this then come down to whether this was intermittent or
that's correct. That's correct.
perennial?
Yep,
Being that it's one or the other, if it were perennial,
Yep.
what's the difference? And as we're looking to put a well in,
the
what-
difference
what-
is, so if it is that we say that this is perennial, then we have to revise the report to say that it is perennial. And we need to do the analysis that there is no other alternative, and you got to go through the regulations as far as proving that there is no other alternative. So it's more paperwork that we have to do as far as going through the River Protection Act, as far as satisfying each of those items. If it is that is intermittent, and keep in mind that on all the other filings before was intermittent, Deb believes that it is intermittent. The problem is to wait for the 4 days to have to see
no
dry. Can it be done or no? So in the interest of time, if we cannot do it, then might as well go for a perennial and just do the paperwork. But yeah, I can't just do it without having the report from Deb calling it out that way. So we'll see which way would be the best, but the well is not changing
at
one
the
way or
end of the
another.
day, I was of the opinion, before I missed the last meeting,
Yep.
I had asked for a narrative for basically your alternative scenario regardless. And
Yep.
we talked that through and pointed out, because of grading, excavating through and all that was,
Yeah.
did you?
I did
submit
provide
that?
that. Yeah, I did provide that, but what's happening is that we revised the plan, and we revised the narrative, including we revised the waiver fees, or why we wanted to ask the board to give us waivers. And one of the suggestions that Amy had at the meeting was, maybe if we propose planting blueberries in front of the lawn area near the brook to give more protection to the brook will be looked as offering some additional protection to the resource area. Being perennial or not perennial, for asking for that variance, it is an item that would be looked favorably from the commission if we offered that. So that's something that I'm waiting for the owner to say yes to.
And the owner had no photos of their front yard for the previous, for the last few years that they've lived there?
Yeah, well, they have pictures. I mean, they haven't changed the lawn, but what is at question, John, is in order for us to look favorably at this project to allow for the well to go in, what are the measures that you are offering to protect even more the brook? And one of the suggestions was, if it is that we give up part of the lawn near the brook by planting shrubs over there like blueberries or some vegetated species like a buffer, would give us that,
So
the okay to get the waiver.
There's
Because
some,
my main concern prior to that, when before the previous meeting, was also to make sure that, to show in your narrative, what I'm more concerned about the well company as they dig the well with an overhanging their truck and what protections they have there. Okay, my question to the commission is that this is a well. Okay, it's very close to the previous well. At what point, if the commission accepts a determination from previous 10 years, from 10 years ago, that it was an intermittent stream, what is it that gives the commission a chance to the ability to take that away?
well, it's not an intermittent stream.
No,
We may have
USGS
been
hasn't been
wrong
updated.
before, but that doesn't give us.
No, it was, but
two
things
wrongs
change.
don't make a right.
Yeah.
The point, the other thing that you missed last time is that there's some question about whether they're actually going to be able to keep the tree healthy.
Which
And
tree is
also,
that?
so because it's so close to where they're digging for the well and also for the overflow pit if they need to. So, I think there's some I
So
have a
the-
lot of concern about whether or not this project is going to negatively impact the stream in ways that we don't currently know. So I'm just trying to do anything I can to try and filter runoff from the driveway or from the house, or God forbid they put something on the lawn, which I know they're not supposed to, but that doesn't mean that your landscapers don't. So that's why I was suggesting some small buffer that would give wildlife and the stream a little bit of protection from the house.
So is that where Artie, where you're showing your hand, the hand?
Yeah,
there?
so.
Right, where
yeah.
it says BVW Bank.
Yeah.
You see, so what we did, John, is if you look, this is where we're putting the well.
Yeah.
One of the things that we are doing is on the blue in here, you can see that we are going with the water line. So we're going to be digging a ditch going from there to go to the existing well. So when during the time that they drill for the well, any excess water is going to be discharged into the existing well. One of the concerns that you expressed was you wanted to have a backup plan in case this got filled with water and we needed to have another dewatering area. So we put another area in here with a detail showing, let's put another area in case the well gets full. So the idea would be during construction, we're going to dig a trench that's going to go along the edge of the driveway to go to the existing well. It is
and you have that oak tree there?
So we get this 40-inch oak tree and we are like 10 feet away from the oak tree to the edge of the asphalt. The owners feel very strongly that they want that tree to stay. Now, the task that was given to us or one of the comment that Janet had pointed out was prove to us that this tree will, convince the commission that the tree is not going to die because of what you are doing. Now, that is something, as you can imagine, a 40-inch oak, the roots of the tree probably go all the way up to the front steps. So what the thinking was, and what I suggested to the homeowner, was one level of additional assurance to the commission would be to offer that we will have an arborist during the time that they do the excavation on this side of the driveway, that if it is that there is any roots that they can rear out or they can whatever, that they can help, then, have an arborist there that is an educated person as far as trying to protect the tree as much as possible. But there is no one out there that's going to give you a warranty or going to tell you that dig 10 feet or 15 feet away from the tree, and there is no way the tree is not going to be impacted. I mean, it's just the reality of life.
Yeah, well, the other thing, Artie, is if you're digging radially away from the tree, you're not going to kill it. There's no way that killing a few roots, a foot wide and a foot wide trench are going to kill it. But you're actually going across the roots.
We're gonna yes.
So if there was
yes,
some way to avoid that.
Yeah, so the idea would be, one way to avoid it would be to go from here, go straight toward the steps, and then turn back to go toward the well.
Well,
which would mean
why do you need to dig a ditch to go to the well rather than just using a hose?
Well, what's happening is that the water from the well needs to come to the house.
Well, they
So we
still
need
have
to
to
dig
move
a trench
the
4 feet.
I understand, but when
Sorry.
you the dewatering piece of it.
Well, the dewatering is not a problem.
But you
No.
said you were going to dig a trench.
They need
No,
the,
that's
Because you're going to put the
They-
water line there.
Can I
Okay,
interrupt?
Okay, well, why
So-
can't the water line go straight out?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So from here, going straight out to the steps and then coming straight toward the well, it's going to ruin the whole driveway. It's going to go from here to there.
No.
It's going to be
Okay,
too much
so
of a
let me,
project.
can I interject?
Yep.
The square underneath the W and wall is
Yep.
where the water line comes into the house.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So as Tim's saying,
Okay,
okay, so that's why, and so they want to join up with that. Now, Tim,
Yeah.
you bring a good point, which is if you come out of the well along the latitude longitude line,
Yeah.
okay, and bring that out closer to the wall. So go out to your right, okay, and then yep, exactly, do that. You've now created a much bigger buffer for your roots. And your option is you can repave that trench, or you just pull up that bit of that basically 1.5 car worth of paving and spend another $2,500 and put your paving down, and you probably save that same amount in terms of what you're trying to do. And that saves the tree because at that point you're dealing with fewer roots and thinner roots.
I agree, and that was one of the things that we discussed with the homeowners, but as you know, homeowners have a hard time envisioning things. So my expectation was what we were thinking is once we get the approval for putting the well in here and they start digging on this side and they see the size of the roots of the tree, then we would look at the owner and say, listen, you're taking too big of a chance to go through this way. It's easier to go the other way. And it's not uncommon, as you know, for people to say, oh, now that I see it, oh, that's what you mean, that the root of the tree is 6 inches. Oh, I thought that the roots would be small. And you're like, well, look, what do you want to do? You want to keep on, if we do this, then hopefully having the arborist there will give them, more of a, their thing was we don't want to ruin the driveway. So
any roots that are going to be that far away where the entry point is, where you drew that
no, I agree, but
vertical line, they're going to be so deep that
they would
or
so
so
they're
insignificant that you're not going to hurt the tree.
yeah. So their thinking was trying to eliminate having to go through the driveway. We went in here we were thinking about putting the well in here originally. And the well company decided not to allow us because they said you cannot drill over here because of the existing well. The homeowners, they said that they're gonna be looking into another well drilling company and see if someone else is willing to take the chance and drill over here. So, but I don't have that feedback from them as far as yes, do this or yes, do that. I am in a limbo at this point, you know, because I don't have the okay from the owners.
Did they have
So what
water
I'm-
now?
What's that?
Did they have water now?
They have some water, yes.
Okay, so the well
It's
is
my-
not,
so my-
it's not completely dead, but
Okay.
it's acting
My-
up. That's
It's
And
dying.
the
yeah.
reason,
got
the
it.
reason to not hydrofract was what?
apparently, again, I was told that the well, it's not deep enough and it's
Oh,
not
that's
in
right,
good
yeah.
condition, so
Okay,
I got into the picture after the well driller had thrown the towel. This cannot be done. We got to put a new well.
okay. So my concern on this was, I was concerned about how much back and forth was going on regarding perennial versus intermittent, because I think at the end of the day, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah, one way or another,
Um,
we'll do the filing, but I got
the
other
other
stuff
thing
that
is-
I are in the air.
I think the easier thing, you know, and I'm assuming a 40-inch oak has a canopy that's probably at least a 20-foot radius.
At least, yes.
Yeah, so, and you are getting, you know, close there, but frankly, you're also cutting across, you know, you're cutting across a 25-degree section of a 360-degree root ball. And, you know, it's not going to be fatal, but it could be damaging. Moving further out, Artie, if there's any way, peeling up that driveway and and just going straight across and down along the wall would make life so much easier. It would be
I-
faster for them.
Or
I
even,
will, yeah,
even, they
after
could
the,
even potentially drive underneath it.
No, it becomes more of a hassle than it's worth. Then they'll
It's gonna
then
be
they'll
5
encounter the
feet deep.
roots.
we try to be 5 feet deep because in the winter they plow
Sure.
and
Sure.
it get, the frost is a problem, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
so my,
So
so what
you've
I'm
got-
hearing, what
you
I'm
need to got a
hearing here is
1 foot
the
wide
narrative has not been
trench.
fully fleshed out. The education of the clients has not been fully fleshed out.
Well,
And
so there are different options out there, that's why.
45 minutes on this already.
Yeah, so.
Well, but the fact of the
Janet
matter is,
has
2
her
weeks
hand raised.
ago.
so-
well,
I-
this
I
is, this
mean,
is gonna come up a
again-
little later on. We have spent way too much time on this
Way
because,
too much time on this. I'm
however,
sorry.
no,
I'm
one,
getting
one of,
really
excuse me,
pissed off.
Sarah. One of the things is, if we determined, I don't understand, and we can talk to Janet about this later on. They need a well. This is the place it goes. They were supposed to give a narrative on that. Intermittent versus perennial. I think we spent way too much time on that part of it. All we needed to, you know, to focus on was how do you get that water line over to the house? And so I'll review whatever we've gotten submitted, but I'm surprised. I thought this was going to be taken care of in my absence.
I can't make a decision without the homeowners agreeing on doing one thing or the other. So as I said to you, we told after the first meeting, the concern that you had regarding the water line. I expressed that the easiest way would be to go through the driveway, and they did not want it to touch the driveway. So the option was to go and see if they had another well drilling company or another company that they were going to consult with, and get back to me to see if it was possible to go somewhere on this
Okay,
area.
then let's
But
let's
Still out,
get
so
this.
I'm
let's-
asking for a continuance, that's all.
Okay, let's get it continued, and then I also, I will bring up as on order of other business, the issue about intermittent versus perennial. Okay, so send the letter into an email already to.
I'll send an
Lori.
email to Lori tonight, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Janet has something to say, I believe.
Yes,
Oh, I just wanted to address a comment quickly, that the delineation of the stream, whether I agree this is a small project, but other projects on the site, it is a critical element of our review to make sure the delineation is accurate, whether it's perennial or intermittent. And The commission.
Let's see, Janet, I am perfectly happy to address this offline or later in the meeting. I don't want to hold anybody on this. We have a disagreement on that I'd like to, I'm more than happy to discuss, but I think right now we owe it to other applicants to move forward on that, and then we can come back to that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You guys need me
next-
to stay for anything else?
No, if you're not on, we're okay.
Okay, have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Next we have up is 92 Main Street. Let's see, for why don't you, Jan, why don't you fill us in on what that is, and do we have a DEP number on that yet?
We do not have a DEP number on that yet. The DEP website says they are waiting for a fee. So the applicant should follow up with them just to make sure that they have what they need. So this is a straightforward project. It is in riverfront to the Charles River. The application was well done. Their site plan is very descriptive. I reviewed the file. I've reviewed, there were 2 past order of conditions, and I did a site inspection. They are proposing to expand the single family house, but within already disturbed areas, and also a small expansion of the existing driveway. They do not need any waivers. I did identify some additional information that would be helpful. I first wanted to confirm that we received the abutter green cards or certificate of mailing in the office.
Laura, did we?
Yes, we did.
Great.
And did we receive, Laura, did we receive fees for this as well?
Yes, we did. There's one fee that they're gonna work out sending to me, the legal ad fee.
Okay, and we'll find out in a moment whether they sent the fee to a DEP there. Okay, go ahead, Janet, sorry.
So there were just 3 points of clarification that I was hoping the applicant or their representative could address. The first was that we need a revised site plan to show that our standard filter mitt compost sock and orange construction fencing is placed along the erosion control line. The second is there is a catch basin in the driveway, and the revised site plan should show that a silt sack will be installed, as well as I did walk on Main Street. I did not see any other catch basins between this property and the Charles, but if there are any that could have been covered, those should have silt sacks. And then the third question is one about impervious cover. We do have calculations about impervious cover. I was not sure if the catch basin in the driveway, if that is contained on site and infiltrates on site, or does that discharge off site? So that was a question. Those are my 3 consideration or questions.
Mm-hmm. Is this the house that had the roof drains put in the last couple of years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Janet. Russ, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yep, that was a great great cover. Thank you. Saved me a lot of yakking. The plan revisions will get to Janet double time quick, not a problem. We'll make sure this basin is got the silt sack. There is a roof drain leaching pit proposed here. This will be in addition to the existing ones.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond that, yeah, I mean, it's, basically 3 parts of the project: the addition, small expansion, 120 square feet of the driveway, and then a new front door landing and walk to replace an existing stone walk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. At
And
some
this is also
point in the future, they're going to be putting in 3 thermal wells.
Mhm.
The access for the drill rig is right through here. They feel fairly confident that, you know, backing the rig in, doing the work and pulling it back out really isn't gonna
Right.
do much, but maybe put some dents in the lawn.
And is that's outside the 200 foot?
Correct. Yeah, this is a 200 foot here, and the
Mhm.
3 wells are gonna go in here.
Mhm. Okay, great. Thank you.
And Russ,
Um,
do you know if that catch basin drain, where that drains to?
Do not know. No, no idea.
Okay.
It's it's not unusual, Janet, for if you know, somebody puts one in just on their driveway, that it just goes down into the soil.
Yeah.
It rarely goes elsewhere.
Hey, Janet and Commissioner, it's Rick from Mitchell Construction. Our surveyor, Bob Lucy, is going to be looking at that on Friday. He's going to pop the cover to see if it is a pit and determine exactly what it does and where it goes.
Great, excellent.
And just to make a note, that the hash area, that addition is actually coming down to be rebuilt. It's being demolished and then it's going back up.
Oh,
So in the same footprint?
In the same, it's slightly, that dotted line in the front is the extension. It's slightly larger, if you will, in the front and the backside there.
And is that currently a 1-story?
It's a 2-story garage
so
with rooms
So it's
above.
gonna do the same?
Same thing,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. Any questions from commissioners? Okay,
looks like a
so
good plan.
basically without a number, we can't move to
Right.
vote. And also need to, if somebody can track down the missing payment for DEP.
We'll have that to you tomorrow.
Okay, great. And if you request a continuance, please,
Yes.
Lori. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, the tie and bond, Eversource. Do we have somebody here for that?
Yes, hi. Myself and Matt Wagner are on for that.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Yes.
Great. I want to make sure you're here. Why don't we have Janet? Why don't you fill us in on where things stand from your view right at the moment?
So as you may recall, there was a PTC fluid release on December 23rd of 2023. Eversource had received a number of emergency certificate permits from us to address emergency response actions. It has become clear that because of continuing release and visible sheen, that additional contingency and remedial response is needed. So this notice of intent will it consists of collecting soil borings, installing monitor wells, and conducting a dye testing to trace the pathways of the fluid. Based on that information, that will allow them to then develop a more comprehensive mitigation design. At our last meeting, the commission had a discussion, given the nature of the project involving hazardous materials. The commission agreed that they would hire a third-party LSP reviewer for this notice of intent, and that they would hire Ecotech. And Lori was going to reach out to Ecotech to get an estimate quote for the peer review work. And so tonight, I would recommend that the commission, whatever the quote was, that you would vote to accept that quote. And then we would need that amount submitted by the applicant into a dedicated account with the treasurer. And then whoever from Ecotech is going to do the review then could proceed.
Okay. Lori, you got that quote, is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. And Paul is still an LSP, and I sent him the materials. He sent back a quote. I told him as soon as it's signed, we could, share it with the applicant, get the check, and his first step would be to reach out to them and meet on site just with their people and
And
him.
when you signed by the board, by commission, or
It,
by
it
the
hasn't been
applicant?
signed yet. It was sent out, but it needs to be signed, though. He submitted it, and then someone has to approve it and sign it, and
But
also
as a
to make sure.
commissioner, needs, is that what you're saying? A commissioner needs to sign it?
Yeah, there's a
Okay,
spot
I
for
just want-
signature. Yep.
Yeah, no, I just want to make it clear to the applicant that it's our responsibility to sign it, then they'll get that sent to them.
And
so-
then give them a copy so that they have the scope of
Got it.
his
Okay.
services.
Okay, okay. And any questions from commissioners? And Matt Orelli, anything that you'd like to add? It
No,
seems-
no, I suppose not. Yeah, I wasn't aware that this was the route that you had decided on. So, but I guess that's fine. I mean, I would just say that, well, that's fine. It is a non-toxic
Oh, Matt, you
fluid
broke up a
that's
bit.
that's used in these pipes. You know.
Can you
You're
broke up
breaking
there.
up.
Can
Oh,
you-
can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Can you restate that, please?
Can you hear me at this point?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. No, I was just saying that it's a non-toxic fluid that's used in those cables, and we have a lot of documentation that if you know, if the third party person would like to review. So I just throwing that out there that I'm not sure that that was clear and the documents that were provided, I thought that it was, but so I'm just a little surprised that's the way that this has turned out, but okay. That's fine. We'll wait to hear from
We just, we find
Ecotech.
sometimes due to workload as well as technical experience, we sometimes call on an outside person. They are very responsive and very reasonable, and so you should be able to work with them, you know, with very minimal holdup here.
My only question is, what is this? How urgent is this?
Well, I mean, we've been working on this since December of 2023.
Yes.
And so we're trying to, you know, just get some traction going with you know, different potential methods to expedite the process. Because we do have this persistent sheen that we're managing, you know, and it's costly to keep doing that. So
Okay.
the quicker we can shorten the time frame, it is just, you know, in everyone's best interest. So that was just that this is part of you know, part of that process.
Yeah, this is non-toxic. We're not going to have any fish dying because we're waiting 2 weeks or something.
No, then yeah, if you're looking at it from that perspective, no. Yeah, right.
And is this assumed to be part of the initial spill? There's no other source or no
That's
other
correct.
potential-
Yeah, there was a substantial repairs that were performed, and they do have alarms. They have different means to detect if there is any other releases that happen on these lines. And you know, that hasn't occurred. So it seems to be had been related to the location of it at the abutment near the abutment of the bridge, and just corrosion and deterioration over time at that particular
Yeah.
location.
Are you also looking to put this under the river, a replacement line under the river, or am I?
No, there's no additional construction as far as the pipe type cable line itself. We're just doing mitigation measures now, and you know, for what did happen from that end of year 2023 event.
Okay, then somebody will sign off on that. You'll get that and make contact with Ecotech, and there should be very, very minimal holdup on things. I imagine the
Okay.
bigger holdup might be somebody is going to have to post the bond money, or post the deposit money, and I don't know how that works within Eversource. So
Right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, we'll figure it out. Okay.
good luck there. Yeah.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Let's see. Do we have anything else on the agenda in front of us before we move to our own work? And Zager or Zaiga? I don't, hi.
Hi, it's Zyga. I just have never gone to a Conservation Commission meeting before, so I thought I'd drop in and see just what the ins and outs are, and it's been super interesting. So, but I don't have anything in particular to contribute. I'm just,
Oh, no, I just wanted
learning
to-
what you guys do.
I have a question for you. Now that you've seen one of these meetings, would you be interested in becoming a commissioner?
Well, I admit that that's partially why I decided to drop in.
Good.
I don't know what sort of qualifications I have.
None.
Other than being a librarian and being able to find out information and being
yeah.
relatively organized.
You have a
But
pulse.
yeah, I do have a
That's-
pulse.
that's
That's
required.
also a thing that I have. So
Oh, no, I have numerous friends on trivia teams who are librarians. And they so
we're
very much-
useful people.
Yeah, absolutely. Among the best.
You'll
in my
learn. We have
experience.
training and stuff if you're interested.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we
That
do,
is
yeah,
good to
which-
know.
So, I mean, I became a member because I have a perennial stream, and I had a neighbor that was building a big house, and I was in the butter, and all of a sudden, Amy Moot said, "Sarah, you should become you should get involved." One that led to another. So
Yeah.
I had no conservation experience at all. So
Yeah. Well, ironically, the stream in question tonight, I actually live upstream from the people building the well. So I was like, oh, this is the Rocky Brook. I know that stream.
Right.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So
And
I
that's-
didn't
and
know
that's
it'd be
what
so
starts
pertinent.
this whole
to me.
thing. That's what starts.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
so I am definitely interested. I'm taking a certificate course through Mass Audubon Conservation in Action. And so the more that I'm learning about different aspects of conservation, I was like, I should probably just see what our Conservation Commission is all about. And then I did see that you guys were looking for people. So I am interested in
Oh, excellent.
Welcome.
Well,
Welcome.
Great.
welcome.
Yes,
Sit in
thank
for
you.
as long as you like.
Wow.
And and basically we try to, for especially for homeowners, it's more one of education
Yeah.
than compliance. Although occasionally we have homeowners who do things they didn't realize they weren't supposed to do, which then just makes for much faster education.
Yeah.
And but that's we basically view it from the point that we're all in the same boat. And,
Yeah.
and we all live in a great town that has loads of reasons to conserve.
We
Yeah.
even have builders who claim they didn't know what the rules were, but
Oh, okay.
that's,
Well,
that's never true. But that's
we're all lifelong learners.
yeah, no.
Well, and then some builders who loved it so much they just couldn't keep themselves away.
Clearly.
Right.
So
Who become chairmen and blah, blah, blah.
so okay, well then, yeah, hang in with us if you want, and we'll move on to additional information. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up,
Lori?
we have.
Lori
Go
has a
ahead,
question.
Lori.
John, sorry, just want to ask a quick question. Did we continue the hearing for Ty and Bond to the next meeting till
Yes, I
after
asked
we
them
get
to-
all
I
the
asked them to-
paperwork?
Yeah, I asked them
Okay.
to email and they're
Okay, I must have missed that. Okay,
and
thank
to
you.
kind of communicate with you once they heard from Paul.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Next up, we have let me pull it out here. I have it somewhere. We have a Janet's invoice for February. We've been on a good roll for for a few months at very reasonable pricing, and then all of a sudden things hit, and so the invoice for this month is $12,359, and and that will pretty much come within $1,000 of exhausting Janet's budget for the year. Just to bring everyone up to date on that. Janet thought that she was actually going to be over by the end of this month, but Lori reviewed all the numbers, and we actually have around $1,000 left for anything in March. the question that I think I'd like people to review this, and I want to discuss with Janet, you know, outside of meeting as well, and then bring some things up. But basically, in 2/3 of the time, we ate up 2/3 of the year, we ate up 100% of the budget that was set aside for Janet. And I'm getting the sense that this is going to, as we move in, spring typically tends to be busier. So I'd like people to review this in great detail rather than, you know, normally we just kind of, you know, glance at it. And I wanted to, and I haven't discussed it with Janet yet, so I don't want to put her on the spot. But I'd like, Janet, if you could review this as well, in light of a meeting that you and I would have within the next week or two, to see what we can do here, either to lower this amount or get a better prediction of what our annual budget should be, and also whether or not a fair portion, for example, this month, 40% of this was for non-applicant expenses, that there was a bunch of the tasks that the town requests you do, but are perfectly happy with us paying, and seeing if there's a way for us to get that addressed either in our budget for next year, or in having a separate budget that the town may grant us, you know, to cover your skills on that they take advantage of there. So that's, do you have any, Jen, anything you'd like to add to that concern? And she left the room.
She's on mute. So,
Yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Janet.
no, go ahead, Sarah.
No, I was gonna say, I know I should know this, but what is our yearly budget for Janet?
88, what is it, 88,000?
That's what I thought, like close to 88,000, and we're running at this point close to 100,000, right?
No, we're running at 120,000.
Oh, okay, okay. So,
And so in the years gone by, we, when we're doing less maintenance, we would reach in and pull that out. But now we're actually doing maintenance, and I think that's very important. And I think we're doing, I don't want to say although we are voting on Anna's maintenance plan.
right.
And we really appreciate that, and we're, you know, getting some momentum going there. At the same time, so we don't have the funds, we don't have the ability to reach in to that and pay Janet a surplus. Laura and I have already discussed and brought to the town's attention that we're going to need a transfer of reserve funds for this, and that we need to address this in a way that makes sense. And part of that is, especially, you know, there may be over $30,000 of that from just a quick glance of time that goes in that we pay for, that the town benefits from because Janet's working with other town committees. And it's one thing to have the town recognize this and pat us on the back and say, yep, thank you very much. But it's another thing to, you know, not have us end up in this, you know, part of the year through our financial crunch. And so I'd like everyone to just review, you know, the last few invoices, Janet to review that as well. And let's see if we can come up with some cases to be made, because I think we're going to, as I said last year, we wanted to be open with the town of what our actual expenses are.
And I guess that's my point, and I can't wait to review all this, but why can't we be transparent to the town and say, actually, our costs are 150 instead of 120, and then we're borrowing from another silo to pay, like, why can't we say, this is what the Conservation Commission needs, and we're at $150,000?
Mm-hmm. So we've mentioned that, not 150, but we've mentioned that before.
Well,
it is actually, you're right.
It should be.
Actually,
We've got inflation. We've got all this
Right.
stuff. It should be
with our
higher.
management.
$50,000 at this point.
So we have brought this up with the town, and at 150, for example, the town said, well, you know, we can get a full-time agent for that. We'll get a
But they
board to look
can't-
into all that.
They
Yeah,
can't
but then
if
they
they
can-
factor in their benefits and their
Okay,
pension.
I mean,
Can I-
even if they
can you
don't,
stop,
it's
please? I'm sorry, but I've worked with other conservation agents. At 150, that includes all the benefits. You can do that hands
And
down.
pension, I mean,
Yeah,
we're,
and pension, yes, all that stuff, you can do that for 150. We didn't bring that up. We said, you're looking at, because they said, well, you know, we did bring that up, and we said, but we don't have the skills to look into that. But you've already looked at that with planning board, Board of Health. They revised, you know, how they do that completely and made it much more in touch with reality. And we said, well, why don't you use the same consultants you did for that and look at us? So that we can, you know, and we also made it very clear to them. They said, if you don't, this is our run rate, and this is what we will be asking for. So that when you come back and tell us that we should have, you know, the possibility of a full-time agent, you told us that you were going to look into that. A couple, maybe 2 months ago or 6 weeks ago, I talked to town management, and they said, we don't want to hire somebody to look into that. At which point I said, okay, then that's our run rate. We're going to, you know, if that's the model, that we will default to that model. And as we will default, even though it's been increasing on a yearly basis, we will default to that model because you're not giving us another option. So my point, as I just asked earlier, is to have the right information at hand to make it clear to them why that model works or doesn't work. But I think we can make a pretty clear case that it does if they account for the resources that they use for non-conservation purposes for Janet. So I think that's part of, I'd like to break it down into a little bit more discrete amounts so that we can say, here's, it's used for this, this, and this. And that's where I'd like, you know, some help in that. Does that make sense to folks? Okay.
So
And Janet?
John, yeah, I just
Go
have a couple comments. So I think one thing we're seeing is the parcels that are being developed or even redeveloped now are marginal and are more complicated. So they require more review. But also we're seeing a real uptick in enforcement
Right.
actions. And I don't know if that's because people are more aware. I would hope maybe this is one of the silver linings is people are more aware of wetlands and concerned about tree removal. So we're getting more calls. But you know, I am doing everything I can to try to limit the amount of back and forth, including, you know, even though it seems my regulatory reports take a lot of time and effort, and they do, but at least I'm providing clarity to applicants, and I'm not wasting. I probably, by putting all this in writing, am saving twice the amount because someone's not calling me. The consultants aren't back and forth. Oh, what did you say at the meeting? What did you say you needed? And then constantly going back and forth. But I have a question. So before I started, the previous agent, George, he took a chunk of time off to go to Florida, like from January, February, and March. So who did enforcement actions? He wasn't in the state. Did the Concom members step up and do enforcement work?
No, we
had
didn't have so many enforcement orders.
Yeah, we had many fewer enforcement orders. I mean,
But we
I can
used
recall
Westwood.
Maybe 3 times going out for an enforcement order during that period of time. But there were
You
fewer.
think that's
And
so much fewer.
and not only that, we actually, the theory was when we gave Janet permission to make decisions regarding 3 trees or less, that was supposed to cut down on a bunch of things. And then we have a bunch of people cutting down 6 trees. So, never mind the ones who cut down 20. But so, no, we actually had that many fewer enforcement orders. But I think those are questions, those are the types of things that I'd like us to research so that when we go to the town, we can make that case. It's a slam dunk. I've been making the case, and excuse if my frustration comes through, but I've been making this case for a number of years now with the town. And in that time we've gotten an increase in Janet's budget, but we are always, we're always behind. And and certainly with some of the subdivision issues that brought up a lot of things, and now we use Ecotech for things of that sort to do that. So it's a moving target, but I'd like to break it down to some discrete things, such as enforcement orders or things that took more time than expected, so that we can address those and say, this is why life is just getting more, complicated. And yet at the same time, I also wonder there's something that we can do where we can look at things and have more discretion relative to simpler things, such as RDAs. And also determining when, maybe cutting down the number of NOIs if some things can really be an RDA. I thought Tim brought up a great point tonight, which was, institutional memory is a powerful thing. That if you're really not digging in the ground, there's, it's more of a courtesy than an application. And maybe to make, be a little bit more mindful of making those. For Janet's purposes, she still has to review it to make sure that nothing is going in the ground. But I think that, and also speaks to what Janet has mentioned before with Marty Pepoljowski, or excuse me if I mispronounced that. He knows how things work now, so that when he submits things, Janet has most of the stuff there. And we have a number of engineers who respond that way, and Janet has called out a few others who don't. We're hoping that they're learning as well, but that doesn't account for I still don't feel like I have the discrete numbers to add up and account for everything. And so that's where I'd like to, I'll meet with Lori and with Janet, and then if we need to spread that to, small bite-sized chunks for people to look into, I think that would be helpful.
And John, I know I should probably know this, I apologize, but when does the budget get, like, when do we as Concom put our numbers into?
So Lori, you submitted a budget numbers in December or January?
I submit budget numbers in the fall.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we just carried over the 88 that was budgeted for FY25. I'd have to go back, and I don't think I brought the whole budget with me.
So and Amy, you probably know this more, but so when the warrant committee, so I guess I'm trying to figure out in my mind when the Concom budget gets voted in for.
So basically in March, I generally make a, is it March? Maybe it's April, end of March, early April.
And so it gets voted in at the June meeting.
Right, again, the May meeting, it gets, but before that, I normally go to the warrant committee, as do all the department heads, and say, the first run through is basically, the first run through is to say, we need more money. And for years, we were good citizens. We were sitting in the corner saying, oh no, we're okay over here. We'll make it work. We'll take more money out of management.
We did. And you did.
And we did, but now, then other boards got completely changed in terms of their management structure. And I know that we operate under our own stress at trying to be cost effective. And it's not like we want to go spending money, but at the same time, I'm going to be going in front of them, and based on the budget we had, I'm going to have to work with Lori and figure out if there's a way we can slide in a larger budget request based on our run rate. And we have mentioned before that when I've gone in there with our run rate, I've mentioned that we will most likely need a reserve transfer at later part of the fiscal year. And so I would like to be able to get a handle on what our actual numbers will be, and at the same time have the background to be able to turn to them and say, we have looked at saving money by X, Y, and Z. One of them, for example, Ecotech, to get other people to pay for it because they're coming in with more sophisticated filings, to be able to come up with things like that. So other things as we look at it, I actually was a little concerned, Janet, with your with the review of 88 Pine Street, because I don't know if people saw that, but that was almost $1,500 to date for reviewing a well. Okay, and I thought a lot of that was being driven by perennial versus intermittent, but at the same time, it also seemed from this evening that they still haven't come up with their full narrative, which we asked them more than a month ago, to review things. So I don't know how much of that was perennial versus intermittent. I think my concern, on its face, that should be an RDA. The question is there a way we can make things like that work better, going forward?
I don't think it should be an RDA.
Well,
Being that close to a stream.
Well, so let me just, and this is what I mentioned earlier, which is, and this is probably something that we need to do on a policy basis, or it's a question out there too. If something has been determined to be an intermittent stream historically, is that permanent, or do we go back and review that when it comes forward?
It wasn't determined to be intermittent. They put it as intermittent on a plan, and we didn't object to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did it for review.
Okay, so one of the things, and to let you know, because the homeowner to the right of that had come to us a few years ago complaining about flooding, and he thought that this 88 Pine had built a bridge that was holding up his water and so forth, and it wasn't. It was just the way we had a really wet spring. However, I've been at that property on numerous occasions. There's grass growing where the intermittent portion of what they're saying. Grass doesn't normally grow on perennial streams. So it doesn't surprise me that at one point that may have been viewed as intermittent.
I'm not objecting. I'm just saying that it's still on the USGS maps, and I found it the same as Janet. And I said, I was the one who brought it up, I think. So, it's not.
No, I just think it's something for us to look at, because
it does feed a pond, John. So
it does. It feeds a more often than not mud patch, which leads to the intermittency. You would think that the intermittency may play a role. I'm just thinking that going forward, if we declare something to be intermittent, or in Jan, we've all been better at this, at making it very clear that if we give somebody the courtesy of showing a wetland line from an old map, that we make it clear that we are not accepting that as the wetland line. And I think that's appropriate. I think on intermittent streams, we should work on a policy as to whether or not that we declare something like that. And maybe that 10 years ago situation on 88 Pine, it was accepted as such, but it wasn't declared to be as such.
If it had been declared, it would be different on the USGS.
It wouldn't necessarily, because
we have declared intermittent streams over the last 10 years.
Yes,
that still show up in USGS as being perennial.
The one behind my house, it used to flow. It used to be a perennial stream. It dries up every year, wet, dry, doesn't matter. And one of my neighbors documented it, and we declared it an intermittent stream.
And
it still shows up on USGS.
I'm sure it does. I haven't looked, but I'm sure it does.
The point is that Artie, it's not just that, we're being sticklers for whether it's intermittent or not. Artie has come back to us several times on this particular piece, not prepared with the information that we asked him to bring us.
Yes.
Well, that was what I picked up this evening. And
That
was
is why it's costing this
Yep.
much money, because every time she meets with him, he beats around the bush and he wastes her time and he wastes our time. I mean,
Well, that's why, but that was and that was what I kind of sussed out today because I missed the last meeting, which was, my assumption was there was a lot of back and forth going as they were trying to prove that this was perennial versus intermittent. And my question was, relative to us, for a well, does that make a difference? And what I see is two parts here. I don't think it does. However, the other things that you were commenting on do, which is, what are you going to do? What are you proposing about the well line? How do you not kill a 40-inch tree? Why don't you dig up the driveway, which will make my life much easier? And those things still have not been addressed. However,
Right.
Janet has to, you can see by her bill, she has to go ahead and deal with this
Right.
every other week.
And
so,
right, because we can't, right.
right. So I think next week, the next time it comes in front of us, if we don't have an updated narrative of what they're going to do, I don't see any reason to schedule it.
Right.
And, and that we be a little bit more firm on that aspect there. So even if they give us a narrative that may not meet us, meet what we would like, at least if they give us something that's different and appears well thought out, we can address it. But if they don't change it, we have nothing to address.
Yeah.
However, as Tim and I mentioned, we have, I think, did we determine on Wilsondale, the stream that comes across from the house that has the sculpture in the pond there, was that determined at one point to be intermittent? Does anybody recall? That was quite
That was way before my time, but I know I kind of. So is the stream go from Wilsondale to Spring Strawberry Hill? Amy, you would
no,
know.
it's further down. It's further down. But just another example, as Tim mentioned, years ago, 86 Pine Street is one of the trout brooks. And I had a driveway in a house that I was a large renovation that I did there. And I came in front of the board, or I recused myself and was in front of the board. And we documented that as being an intermittent stream. And that was a stream that Rick Whedon, who used to be on the board, mentioned that he grew up when traffic was less on Center Street. He and his brothers would pop the manhole and fish there.
Fish for
So
trout.
it was clearly perennial at the time.
Yes.
It is the same stream behind my house that is barely hanging on to being perennial.
No,
But as you get further down, when I moved in, there were trout in my stream. Now, I end up with an inch, in August or something if I'm lucky. And that further down, that's the same stream that I submitted, and it was declared intermittent because of the of having more than 4 days or 3 days worth of dry stream bed,
Yeah.
and it's still that way.
John, I also pointed out last week that historically, you can put a well any place. We've approved wells that are in the wetland because there's no other place and people have to have a well. What our job was at that point was protecting as much as we can.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we can do. We can't deny people a well because they have to abandon their house then. We do.
Right, because we
can't do that. That would be a taking.
The town of Dover, we do not have a sewer system, so it's
right.
We're gonna have So I would like to. I'm just surprised how long this has been taking because it does seem on a construction basis, it's relatively simple. Yes. And I don't know if Artie's been conveying that. Well, certainly not cogently to his clients. Taking up a section of that driveway is the least expensive portion of what they're doing there. Yeah. So anyway, but that was my concern, was whether or not intermittent or perennial was holding up anything relative to this. No. And what I recognized tonight was no, it hasn't been.
Right.
you know, and so so we shall see as that proceeds there. So what I'd like.
I'm concerned, my concern as a commissioner is that we have enough money going forward to make sure that Janet gets paid and that we are covered. So I know I threw out that $150,000 number, which seems shocking, but I think that's somewhat doable.
That is.
I tend to agree.
You know,
That
like
is,
Janet
well,
has
frankly,
her
I'll let you know.
hand raised, John.
There is no town that I have run across, and I probably work within around 10 towns that have, at that price range, don't have a full-time agent. The idea of $150,000 on a consulting basis is, you know, that's a non-starter. The question is, but our real run rate for Janet is probably closer to 120 to 125. It seems that's the number that, well, I want to get working with Janet and Lori. I want to get a better idea of where we think this year is going, because we are going to have to ask for additional funds there, and then use that to then get ready for the next fiscal year and increase that, you know, in terms of, you know, a full budget line item. Yeah.
Janet has something to say?
Yep.
So I just wanted to clarify because, when I did the math for my expenses, well, so, my contract actually is for 85, not 88. And I just wanted to, unless it's gone up to 88, but I had thought that my consulting services were at 85 annually. Is that not right?
Let's see, I believe Lori's looking that up, or do you have it in? Yeah, Lori?
So it was supposed to be 85. There was something submitted by Janet for FY25. Do I still have that? Anyway, it was for an increase for services for FY25. And the amount she was looking for was, came out to 87.5. She was requesting an increase of 22.5 from the 65 that it used to be. This was back in November of 23 when we were talking about the 2025 budget. So at a meeting, Concom approved 88,000. You just round it up to 88,000. So 88,000 was requested on the budget, approved in the budget. So that's why the math was different, because you weren't starting at 85, you were starting at 88. Technically, after this bill is paid, there's about 1,600 left in professional services. That's the discrepancy. You might not remember the memo that you wrote, but it was back in the fall of 23. And the commission approved it. So even though the contract was, you know, it was 65, and then instead of going to 85, it went to 88. So that's,
did we sign that contract at 88, or did we sign it at 85?
that contract was signed at 88. It was voted at a meeting. I probably have it in email. I can send you all or Janet probably has it in email too. The request to go up by 22.5 from 65. Brought it to 87.5. You increased it to 88. It was all approved. It's
okay.
It's in VADAR. It's in the finance papers and in the budget. So
I take my comment back then. To we'll like I would be willing to approve her to 100,000, not 150,000. Like, sorry, I just.
Well, that's it. But that's part of it, and that's I would like to take a look at it and say, look, we really think this is what Janet's budget is, but when she is asked to do X, Y, and Z,
right,
on the part of the town for things, this is how much that costs us, and we're perfectly happy paying that as long as we get a budget for it.
Right.
And then that way, I just feel a little, I feel like I'm misrepresenting things even though it's not our fault. You know, that, you know, the
No,
services.
John, I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to get the true numbers in and present to the Board of Selectmen or the town. This is how much we're spending. And this is how much, you know.
And then I
Yeah.
also think, as one of the historically, as I mentioned, pulling ecotech in those things that can eat up money, and well, in more particular time, you know, as well as Janet's budget, you know, has been helpful. And it gives us a certain level of expertise for certain things as well. So we can show, you know, the warrant committee and so forth that we have been working on this. I think part of this too, if you remember, a number of years back, we used to charge applicants for Janet's time. And so we could work with a smaller budget. And then town council came to us and said, well, you know what? You can't do that. You know, you're using Janet's services as a type of employee or a special employee. Therefore, you need to budget for that and not charge homeowners for that. However, you can charge if you set up an escrow account, you can charge people directly for outside expertise. And so that's
And
how
do we
that,
do that? Are
that's
we
how
good
that,
about, are we good about charging people?
well, we can't. Yeah, we don't. So we, you know, so that's what we did was we increased Janet's budget
Okay.
because we, in order to comply with that. So now each time when I go to them and I ask for more money, I break it down and I say, this is where it's all been going. So I'm basically saying that's where we're at again. Although as I look at Janet's workload for the town itself, dealing with tree committee, stormwater review, you know, many, you know, other things there, has increased the amount of money that we've been paying her out of our budget. And I want to be able to make it clear to the town that we should be getting an increase to our budget if they're going to be using our resources. You know, we're assuming, you know, they appreciate them. They wouldn't be asking her to be in these committees. And we just want to sort of complete the circle and let them know that they're paying for it one way or another. And
I guess to the point though, too, even though I said $150,000, which was kind of extreme, but that doesn't include Paul McManus, Ecotech and all that. So if we're just gonna raise Janet's budget to say 100,000, we need another bump for the third party.
well, no, because the third party gets paid directly by applicants.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what town council pointed out to us. If we use a third party, that's like what we just did with Tig and Bond for Eversource.
Right. Okay.
I think Paul's quote was, Lori, was it around $2,600 or so?
I think that was the max, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That makes sense to me.
that comes
All
from
right.
them. It doesn't come out of our budget. So we're fine there. So actually, so what I'd like to do is I'll entertain a motion to cover Janet's expenses for the month of February.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, okay? Please, before our next meeting, please review the you know, the last few invoices that you can pull up. And if there's any thoughts, I mean, many of them, they're $300 here, $400 there, they look perfectly fine. Every now and then you get hit with something, you go, huh? And the question is, more often than not, it seems to be a process issue and maybe an applicant who makes life difficult because they're not. And my question is, are we not communicating something to them, or are they just being obtuse, or, you know, just to see what areas can we, you know, is there any way we make things work more effectively? Some of it is being more adamant about things that are submitted. And if they're not submitted fully, we just don't have to put that much time into it until they are submitted fully. So we'll work on that. Enforcement orders, we'll touch base on a few of those and as you move forward. But let's move forward for the rest of the evening at this point. And so so it was approved for the invoice of February. Now we'll move on to the minutes for November 8th, 2023.
Oh,
Did
John,
anyone have? Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that we get back to 36 Wilsondale and talk about how best to proceed.
So I actually thought, so he didn't, yeah, it's a good point. He didn't show up. He is technologically compromised. Not he's not that up on technology. He had his son, I guess when I wasn't here the last meeting, he had his son hook him up, but then halfway through the meeting he uh, disappeared. I don't know for what reason or whatnot. Janet, I thought why don't you and I discuss that? I will. I'm going to try to get a phone number and talk to him directly on that because we still don't really have a good idea of whether he's in violation or not because we don't have, we don't have a property visit or anything. Is that correct?
That's right. That really is the next step to determine if there is a violation.
And this was, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this was where we were to do a site visit and he said we cannot get on his property.
Yes.
That's right.
Right,
Mhm.
okay. I just wanted to clarify, okay.
So I will reach out to him once I get contact info and just see whether or not builder to builder have an ability to discuss things and some other things on a parallel basis. So Janet, we can touch base on that early next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Moving on, we have minutes of November 8th, 2023. Did anyone have a chance to review those?
I did not.
We
I
have
won't.
one. And Janet, did you have a chance to do comments on those?
Yes, I sent one round of copy of my comments, the first one out February 22nd. And then at our last meeting, not everyone was able to review them, so I resent them out.
So that would have been,
Get them.
what's that?
I said I did get them, but
Okay.
not all.
So I don't know if people want to kick them ahead again, and make a, double pinky swear that they'll read them or do
Read them the first time, but it was a long time ago.
I think we should forward it to the next meeting. I apologize.
Okay. I appreciate that, Sarah. So let's do that. The other thing is, Lori and I were discussing today, we have, again, it's a money issue. We have run out of money to pay the woman, Dale, who had been catching up on our minutes. She does this for a number of other towns and also for the selectmen, I guess it is. We can only pay her out of payroll, which for some reason we had a small bit that was non-assigned. And we're going to go to the town to try to find, just to get her to, she's in the flow now and we don't want to lose her. And we're going to be going to the town and seeing if we get approximately $3,500 or so to catch up, bring us up to the end of 2024.
So this is
and
where I'm going with my $150,000 budget.
Well, that's just it's another vagary, and I just want
it's like I know in my mind I know exactly where all the silos are going, and it's going to end up being that.
Well, one of the
I could be
questions that we
wrong,
also have to look at is that Lori is behind on the minutes, partly because these minutes we had a very, very busy year at that point.
And long meetings.
Yeah, and all that. And so the prior to that, Lori kept up with minutes just fine. We've also made additional paperwork, that we want people to comply with so that we have some record that they either did something that needed enforcing or that they have more conditions, or there are a number of things. We're looking into that as well. But Lori really, at her 26 hours a week, no longer has time to keep up with the minutes. So that's something that we'll be looking at. And we've also mentioned to the town that having a part-time person to help Lori with administrative stuff would be something that we would also like to review in our budget. So those are the things that we, other ancillary things that we're looking for. So we're going to look into that. We don't want to lose Dale Services. We're going to try to get that taken care of in the next couple of weeks so that we can maintain that. And Lori, outside of the November 8th one, do we have other meeting minutes that are waiting for our review? Do we have like November and December? That's the
all
last
you have
one?
in front of you is that because I put a stop on her doing anymore.
Okay, so we are going to look at the other thing people may not have been aware of is that part of Lori's time in the last few weeks has been eaten up by a Freedom of Information Act request for litigation relative to Haven Terrace, or Haven Meadows or whatever it was. That is a civil issue between those two parties, but their attorneys have looked to the town to give them all the documents that every board in town has on that. And that we did get somebody to help on that. Some of the seniors who are able to work some of their taxes off on that way. So that was helpful. But it just gives you an idea of what's going on in the office that is sort of hidden and still eats up time.
So I don't know if you've ever seen Henry V, but when he landed in France, he said, "First we kill all the lawyers."
Right.
Sounds good to me.
And then his son went to law school. So okay, so we'll push off the minutes till next meeting. We have a land management work group update. Anna?
Yep. I don't think we've met. Well, we haven't met since last time, but we're planning more trail work for the end of the month, given that February was completely buried in ice. I'm looking at signs and actually I'm going to talk with the group, but would love opinions here. Do cyclists have right of way over hikers, or is it the other way around? Everyone yields to equestrians, but then what?
Cyclists should yield to everybody.
Cyclists come in for
their vehicles. They have to yield to everybody.
Okay, that works.
Absolutely. There's no, and as a cyclist, there's
horses, people, bikes.
Works for me. Speaking as a people on that list. And let's see. We met with our land management plan consultant last week. That was really interesting. To catch, I think just you, John, up. Bill had a great overview, great plan. We talked a bit about the Spurge. He's going, and we authorized him to look a few hours more in. It was about $1,000 to figure out if we can do prescribed burns and herbicides and get rid of the Spurge. And if so, will we save money in the long run if we can now hay the field?
Good. Those are all the things
pretty cool.
One goes to the other. Yeah, excellent.
So that was interesting. I think we may be talking more about that at our next land management meeting, and we'll be doing that relatively soon. So that's where we are.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's see. 15 Ben Arthur's Way. So while I was away, I got informed that the planning board is looking to extinguish some, not actually to accept some easements. And some people have requested extinguishment, and they had a Zoom hearing for people to discuss things. And the owner of 15 Ben Arthur's Way was on that hearing, and he asked, since he had read that somebody else was able to extinguish an easement, could he extinguish his easement? Because, and I haven't seen this yet, it was sent to me, but I haven't had a chance to review it, because he was potentially concerned for his own liability, things, although all the wording says and town council says that's not an issue, but also that deer use that, and deer have ticks, and therefore ticks go on his lawn. I spoke with the planning board, and I actually sat in on their meeting on Monday to get because a lot of this stuff I didn't know was happening. And Amy does, and she can give us any rundown on other things.
No, I didn't, because planning board talked to me in early October about this warrant and got my list, and I added a few to it, and then radio silence until I got a few days before this neighborhood hearing, I got a calendar invite for it. I could have told them in October I couldn't go that night. And even if I could have gone that night, I would have had an open space meeting that night if their planner had checked the calendar. So I just threw up my hands and said, if you need anything before the meeting, let me know, but I can't be there. And then all hell broke loose because they put the wrong things on the list.
Correct, which they have now pulled off.
Well, they pulled off everything except for Craw and maybe Wilson's Way.
Right. And so what one of the things so I'm updating on 15 on Ben Arthur. I got the file from Lori. I looked up all the PDFs that I have. Compared to all the other town boards that have easements, we did so many things right on it. Except that at the beginning, when we first came to our attention, it had no outlet. That was the thing that they never followed through on because that was a planning board thing. But we managed to, it didn't connect to DLCT's easement originally.
It did, but yes.
No,
well, because
wasn't nothing.
DLCT's easement is just, you shall be able to walk across the property.
Right, but there was a fence there, but we managed that,
Yes.
5 years ago, whenever we did. And so I brought it to the planning board's attention, and it seemed to be helpful for them looking at other easements. We accepted that. Once we got everything sorted out back in 2018 or thereabouts, or 2020, we accepted it, but it also, we have a deed for it. It was deeded to us as part of that original subdivision. So we had the firmest, most iron-proof easement of any of the easements that they've been looking at. So Ben Arthur Way is not going anywhere. I think it makes sense for us to add it to our land management behaviors. I don't think it would take more than a couple hours, frankly. It's I've been going there yearly and snipping things away. So there's not much to do, but I think we can go ahead and add that to our list.
Yeah,
And,
we got trail work planned. I don't know exactly where it is, so I will email someone and ask.
Sure.
Other than
No,
15.
Feel free to give me a ring. I'll send you a plan as well.
And I can show you too.
If there's a need to do anything on the DLCT easement, I actually ran into Laura Talmud on Sunday. So, we're DLCT or LT Farms will put up signs, etc., to make sure that trail is open if you find that there's any confusion around it. But it is not for bicycles to be ridden on.
Right.
They have to walk their bicycles on both of those trails. Neither trail has bike as a mode of transport.
And Linda, Laura,
yeah.
Actually, we got a formal document from LT Farms to join that easement to across her property there. That's how we're able to.
Okay, I haven't seen that document, so
okay, I'll look
and
it
I
up
can't
now.
I can't find anything. Well, I haven't really looked too deeply into the DLCT files, but there's not a lot of files, so I'm not super hopeful that we have anything.
No, I believe that was the whole idea, was we wanted to make that continuity, that connection.
Oh, no, I know, but I'm not sure that all the documents got ticked and tied the way that they need to. So I'm happy to make sure that happens. It's just
okay, great. Let's see. So Ben Arthur's is there in perpetuity. It's the easement spells it.
Both of them are going to be there in perpetuity.
Yeah, they were granted to us in perpetuity. So
we're not going to. Yeah. The DLCT one as well.
Okay. Let's
Land
see.
court.
Right. Okay, Janet. updates?
Okay, a couple things have come up. 6 Meadowbrook Road, we issued that order of conditions about a year ago. Dave Parrish proceeded to take down almost all the trees without having his order in place or recorded. I spent time with him over and talking about his order of conditions, the importance of the monthly progress reports. He submitted one, and then for about the last 8 months, we haven't received anything. And
is that house all built at this point?
it's built and it's on the market.
Okay.
So, we've had a number of issues with order of conditions. An applicant, once they finish their project, they are required to come back to us and get a COC. 80% of the time, that does not happen. And, you know, I guess we just don't have the resources to follow up. But I've caught this one, especially with a builder on spec and they're selling it. I think it's important that we require they come in as soon as possible and get their COC in case there are problems on the site.
Oh, so this is 6 Meadowbrook?
Yes.
Now, what's our interactions with Walter? Zaga, Walter is the building inspector in town.
Yep.
Do we have an ability to communicate with Walter and have him hold up an occupancy permit if they haven't done their COC?
No, we cannot legally do that.
Okay.
No.
He could remind them to do their COC.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's got a full plate too. But
yeah, he has. Yeah.
My suggestion is a letter from the office, letting them know they were in violation. They have not submitted their monthly progress reports, and that they need to submit a certificate of compliance request. And also that once it passes and transfers the new deed language, but that we also have a very firm deadline for when they have to submit their COC.
Yeah, and we have been finding attorneys have been getting much better at holding up closings based on lack of COCs. But I think let's Lori, if you can do this, this is you know, we'd like to bring it to your attention that you know, per your order of conditions, you have not submitted your monthly progress reports, and that in order to maintain clean title, you need to submit your COC application.
And I'd suggest we give them a month to do that. The house is on the market.
Well, and I think something to the especially for newer builders, you know, for new construction, whether we have a line in there that says that I'm trying to think of it, not precipitous, but the board will grant no special treatment for closings for somebody help me out, for an upcoming or a quick closing. As we don't want to we're not going to go ahead and try to bend over backwards to help a closing proceed just because somebody needs a COC that they didn't apply for.
We no longer do emergency COCs.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say no longer. I would say, you know, the board policy is not grant emergency COCs
For closings.
due to a quick closing or an upcoming closing.
So if we gave them 4 weeks, that would put us at April 9th.
Yep, I think that works fine.
Okay.
Did you notice, Jen, have you driven by? Did he get grass in there before the winter?
Yeah, there is grass. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okie doke. And just as a curious a point of information, so he went ahead and he clear cut the lot after we gave him permission, under the new stormwater regulations, he would not be able to cut within the building setbacks. Is that correct?
He would need to come in for a permit and
Mhm.
have that reviewed.
Mhm.
And so he could do some removal. He could do some removal, yeah,
Right, but he can do the core, but within the setbacks.
that's right.
Yeah, okay. That helps us a bit, so. Okay, 42 Hartford,
So 42
Same
Hartford,
thing?
it's the same situation. That's a Paul McGovern and Pat Corrigan new build that was on a vacant lot. We issued the order of conditions. We received no monthly progress reports, which is a surprise because usually Paul is on top of things. So again, the same thing, a letter from the office. You were in violation, no progress reports. Please submit a COC by April 9th.
And is that house fully built?
I have not been by that, but I know it's on the market.
Okay,
So I
yeah,
think it is built. Actually, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if I saw a picture. I think I did see a photo of it.
yeah, I couldn't tell. I mean, part of it, next time I drive by, I'll take a look, but I didn't know. Sometimes it looks that way, but it's not fully built. But Laura, do you you're able to contact Paul by phone pretty quickly, is that correct? Yeah, can you send this letter out, but also give him a phone call, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, Red Robin?
Red Robin, we've been waiting for the partial COC for about 5 months. At our last meeting, we asked Lori to send out a letter requesting a submittal by the 26th. So Lori, have you heard anything from Paul on that?
I haven't heard yet. I asked for two things, a check to pay Paul and the COC. I got the check, but no COC yet.
Why are we looking at a partial COC on that?
Because there are still some outstanding minor things. There was some signage. I can't remember what else, but the main concern was the stormwater system.
Right.
And we were going to bring in Tetra Tech actually, I thought we were going to go with Tetra Tech because they did the stormwater peer review for us, not Paul.
No, this was for something else.
What do
It
you
was
mean,
for Paul's review that was approved and I was waiting for the check. Oh, it might have been the ANRAD. It's two different things. I just
Oh, okay.
contacted him once with both things.
Okay, so yeah, I remember now that you bring it up, Janet, there was concern Tetra Tech did all that engineering under the guise or the review for the town. And then we're looking to have them close that out. And did they, Laura, did they come up with a quote for that?
Are you talking about the other outstanding bills, the old one?
No, Tetra Tech relative, well, that there was that too.
There was
an
that, and that was worked out. Paul gave me the extra money, but there's no money yet in a fund to pay Tetra Tech.
Okay, so they have to arrange with somebody to get the COC. Do we need Tetra Tech's review for that, or can we accept whoever they use for that review?
So we were skeptical and wanted a third-party review of the COC, and that was written into the order of conditions. That there would be a third-party review of the COC request.
Okay, so why don't we incorporate that into a letter, Lori? Or did you already send that letter out to Paul?
Okay, so I already contacted him to submit the COC, but I didn't say anything about Tetra Tech. I thought maybe you would want to receive the COC first.
Yeah, and then, I think that's appropriate. Okay, so we'll continue. You sent those out within the last week or last 2 weeks?
You know, I don't have the date in front of me. After the last meeting, it was talked about at the last meeting, I guess, I think, or maybe even the meeting before that. It did go out. I just can't tell you when.
Okay, then 6 Meeting House Hill. Road, there's unpermitted tree removals.
That's,
And Janet, did you meet with the homeowner?
I did, and that was in my report. I
Yeah.
got a call from Lori that she had been contacted by abutters of some tree removals. I did go out, I met with the homeowner. She was a little confused because she had contacted Lori and asked if there were any wetlands issues on her property. And she misinterpreted what Lori had said. I think Lori confirmed there weren't any outstanding permits.
Mm-hmm.
But she took that as meaning, oh, there weren't wetlands on her property, or she didn't need the commission's review approval. So I spent some time talking with her. She's a new homeowner there. And just explained to her the situation. I showed her where the wetlands were, also on the GIS map. So there are about 8 trees that came down. I'd say half of them were in decline. And we would probably have approved those to be removed, but taken off site. The issue here was that the tree company, and she's gonna get me the name of that tree company so I can do some education outreach there. They dumped all the trees down the hill. Some big sections of the trunks are in the wetlands, and the rest are hanging down the hill. Obviously, if these trees had fallen down naturally, they would be where they are now to some degree. But this was an intentional, dumping of the trees. I can't say for sure that removing them is that could cause more harm than good going into that area and trying to pull them out. And they'd have to have some pretty heavy machinery to come in, and the whole backyard is wet and sloped. So, I don't know if
visit. We did that with 15 Grand Hill and just like had a look, and we're like,
Right.
if you dig this out, it's just gonna make everything that much
Yeah.
worse. Just be aware. So we
So
could go and
I
check,
actually-
or I don't mind doing that again.
I swung by before this evening's meeting because it was a house of one of my daughter's friends whose wedding I went to this summer. And I was curious, and everything Janet says is right on point. It's these half the trees were diseased. You could see them in Janet's pictures. The slope. There is a talk about top of bank. There's around 20 feet of backyard, maybe 25 if you're lucky, and then it drops at a very, very steep slope around 40 feet down. And so I actually, when I rang the homeowner's Ring doorbell, she picked up from another state, and then we spoke by phone. She corroborated all that. She, her tree guy, I love these the tree guy experts, said that she was nowhere near 100-foot, buffer. On Mass GIS, the wetland to the street, so all the way to the front of the house and the street, is 107 feet. So the whole lot is within the buffer. However, there's one more tree that's actually relatively concerning that has not been cut. It goes from it's near the street, and it arcs over the house, and she would like to get rid of that. And I said that was something, she can take that up with Janet, but trying to get something in there, and this is just limited budget there. There are trees that have fallen down consistently all around that area. It's a major gully. I'm not sure that there's much to be had by removing them. I would say 3 of those trees at least, maybe 3, possibly 4, were 6 inches basal tree, at 4 feet above the ground. So they're not that, one was a major pine that we would have said absolutely. It was a 30+ inch pine right next to the house. A lot of the houses up there have had a lack of pruning for 40 years, and that's what they have there. And Janet, were you able to pull up Mass GIS for her to actually see?
Yes.
And did she seem to understand it?
Yes.
Okay, because she, today she told me again about she contacted her tree guy. I did a measurement on GIS and printed it out. I will text it over to her. But I'm not sure, I don't know if there's much we can do on a fairness basis. I don't think there's anything that's detrimental. It's unsightly for the time being until things get, until mushrooms and, other things get to these tree trunks. But I'm open to what we would say in an enforcement order.
And just so you know, John, it's 10:17. I'm being your time management.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So Janet, the enforcement order, like you said, if we're willing to let things go because it's a one-off, but I feel compelled that we should still send a letter of some sort of acknowledgement.
Yes, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
She also did say that she has two young children, so she's wanting to put a fence at the edge of the lawn.
Oh,
So
that certainly makes sense.
she has my contact information, and I said, you'll need to contact me and file something with us. So she understood that.
Okay, then why don't you? I don't see a need for a survey.
No.
Because I'm on this particular case, I'm perfectly okay using the Mass Mapper for location there. The whole property's in the buffer, and just make that, we can make that clear. And then that she should contact us for things. Why don't you, Jen, if you can touch base with me on or actually, why don't you do up a draft of the enforcement order?
So my recommendation, if we're not actually asking her to take any action, I actually don't think we need an enforcement order. As you remember, we rescinded the enforcement order in 15 Grand Hill. So I don't think we need to issue this, but I think a letter just indicating the extent of the wetlands on the property, and that she needs to contact us in the future for any.
Okay, then Lori, why don't you handle that, please?
Yeah, we're not going to punish you for what you did, but don't do it again.
Right. Just to let you know that whatever you do, if you plan on sneezing, you need to contact us.
If you want to put a shovel in the ground.
Yeah, 100% of your property is in the buffer. Okay, 31 Springdale, I actually spoke to Will Mitchell about that because I've, again, a daughter connection and so forth. He has been trying to get GLM to respond to him, and because they did the original plans there. Goddard has not been responding to him. They responded by telling him that they would do a survey for somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000. Seemed a little beyond the pale. So I mentioned that his
restoration plan for $8,000 or $10,000.
What's that?
How about doing the whole restoration for $8,000 or $10,000?
It wouldn't even cost that. And they've done a restoration plan.
No, but I mean, do the plan. They didn't do a restoration plan for the LCT portion of the.
So which is another interesting point. So looking at the GLM plan, I pulled that up. The portion that DLCT that looks like was cut or utilized, that you can tell by the tree cover, the outline on the original septic plan with the previous owner, that was already there had been a shed there that had been used before. That had been being used by the previous owner. So that wasn't
which is fine,
expansion.
But that doesn't mean that Will doesn't have to fix it.
No, so what he did do, so I told him that, and I said the first thing you need to do is get GLM to get in with a survey line, they have all that information. They did the septic system. They know where everything is. That would be his least expensive, fastest way of getting, of addressing where that property line is, and then addressing with what, seeing what is on DLCT property, to see what needs to be done. So he is trying to do that. I will help him if necessary with contacting GLM, but it's just more because I've known him since he was younger, and then the other thing I brought to his attention is that he still needs to follow through. And Paul is Ecotech is I told him to contact Paul. Paul's issue with the restoration plan it was a little light on vegetation, and to contact Paul and find out more precisely what he needs to do.
Well,
So
at least from what Steven saw on the ground I haven't walked it. From what he could see on the ground and what Paul said in his note was there's actually fill in the DLCT part, which I don't think was that side was not part of the original restoration plan.
I think that's a good, I think that's a good point. All the more reason, as I told him, he needs that property line staked so that everything can be incorporated into whatever new documentation is necessary.
Because, if we have to survey it and restore it, we're going to be sending him a bill, and we're probably going to put a management fee on it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So I told him I would talk to him
Putting
later
my
this week.
DLCT hat on now, you can't.
Yeah,
see
no, I can see it. It's wide brimmed. It's so the but yeah, so I will push on him to get that line marked so that both parties can recognize what they're dealing with. And then I've asked him to contact Paul and so that he can get a full answer on what he needs for at least the restoration that was handled under the Ecotech umbrella. And then treat the other one as something between the two parties. Let's see. So that's the quick update on that. I don't want to take up much time. High school track and field.
So I was contacted by the school's consultant on this project. The track and field itself is outside of the buffer, but there are some drainage issues. There are some drainage pipes overflow that do go into the buffer. So they'll be getting us more information, and we'll see if they need to come to us or not. Mike Angieri is also reviewing that under the new stormwater management bylaw.
And this is on the main stadium there?
That's right.
Okay. Not the backfields, because the backfields have a lot of restrictions on them.
Yes, this is just the artificial field. Yep.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Just a reminder that the planning board is having their first meeting on the MBTA zoning. It's a public meeting. That's March 25th at 7. And I was asked you to also, if you have time, go on the town website. They have a survey that they're going to use for public feedback to help inform them as they move forward on that. That's going to be, I think it's a September special town meeting. They have a consultant working with them. Again, under the MBTA Act, a town has to identify areas where there can be multifamily housing by right. I think we have 105 units that we have to potentially find and allow for by right zoning. Doesn't mean it has to be built, but that it's zoned as an option. So the trick is, okay, where is that area going to be? Right now, they're looking at already developed areas. They're looking at County Court, Tisdale Drive, and I can't remember the others. There were 2 others.
They were looking at
Pulte.
Actually, three County Court, which is the Tisdale development.
Yep.
I don't know if it included Red Robin or not, but anyway, they were looking at the meadows, Dover Meadows by the market, and they were looking at the Junction Street next to the high school that we determined had an awful lot of wetlands in it.
Mhm.
And Pulte has not exercised their option to move
Mhm.
forward with that project.
So,
Or at least those are the three that they had on the survey.
yeah.
Mhm.
So there'll be more information. So if you can attend, that would be great. Eversource, I have spoken to, they have an upcoming project, probably in about the next 8 months. They are replacing underground cable transmissions, mainly over near the Claybrook Road area. So we'll be getting more information on that. I did want to try to schedule with all of you that site meeting with Bill for Springdale Meadows. We had to cancel the last one. So we're coming up on April, so I think it's safe to say maybe that there won't be any more snow, but
Mhm.
so we're at the 12th now.
Well, you just jinxed it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's see. Maybe
Supposed to
the
be snow showers tonight.
yeah, that's true.
I will be away during early part of April until the 12th or 13th. So I'm open after that.
Or how about
Or you don't-
March 28th? That's a Friday. That's the end of March.
I can't make
They-
it. I've got to take the puppy to Grafton Vet. Yeah.
I can make that in the afternoon.
Me too.
Or we could try, you do it on the weekend. We could try a Saturday the 29th.
Saturdays are great.
Works. Anyone else?
I can do it in the morning, but not in the afternoon.
Okay.
10 o'clock? Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 on the 29th?
Okay, I'll check with Bill and I'll confirm that with everyone. Okay, and then just finally an update on the rail trail. They had their public forum. They had a good turnout, almost 150, I think.
Wow.
I think it went well. So they are designing up to the 50% conceptual design, going back to town meeting in the fall, later fall, for additional funding. So if the town approves the project and the MBTA lease, we could be looking at a wetland delineation and a very large NOI within a year on that. So that's on
And
the.
Janet, did you get a sense how people were feeling? Yay or nay?
Yeah, I got a letter from a neighbor.
Ooh,
Not
I haven't gotten those yet.
Not a happy letter. Not happy about the rail trail. And it's funny because everybody says, well, what'll it do to our property values? They'll go up. Every time they put in a rail trail, the property values, the closer you are, the more they went up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But did you have Jen, do you have a sense where there are a lot of people in favor, or was it hard to tell?
I think the people who spoke up were generally in favor. Some people were a little cautious and wanting to be more involved. It sounds to me like they're going to be reaching out directly to the abutters to meet with them and to talk about privacy issues and safety issues.
So that's one of the things that this, people have the sense that there are going to be thousands of people on this rail trail every day.
It'd be such a wild success.
Yeah, I mean, if there are two, that would be a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting
and bicycles, they're worried about bicycles.
Yeah.
The people with the kind of bicycles that go zooming by don't want to be on that rail trail because it's not good for their bikes, and and it's boring anyway.
Well, and given where you are, Tim, that all they have to do is go walk down to the Medfield Rail Trail.
Right.
But to both your point, no one is really riding their bikes on that rail trail.
On the Medfield one.
On the Medfield one.
No, because in Medfield they
There's
have
nowhere to go.
sidewalks. So their little kids can learn to ride their bikes on the sidewalks. There's no place for them here, so that's the only people who'll be there.
Yeah.
It's people with young kids who they want to teach how to ride a bicycle, but they don't want to do it in the street.
But
And I've seen on the, because I use both Needham and Medfield. So it would be nice to use our own town one, but I've seen bikes in Needham because you can actually use that and avoid narrow winding roads. And they use it to go to another location in town.
Do
Not
you see,
like,
are
you
they
know,
mountain bikes or are they road bikes?
they're, I would say probably a gravel bike is an in between. It's been both, but they're not being ridden by,
The
you
Lycra
know,
set.
It's
by
not the Lycra
Uber
people.
bikers. They're being ridden
Right.
by, some
Right.
teenager who wants to go visit a friend on the other side of town. Or they're
Perfect.
being, ridden by an adult who just, is off podunking. They're not racing or anything.
Right, they're
Um,
not in the Lycra category.
No, I have seen zero Lycra on any of the trails.
Good.
so as you guys know, I've been controversial about the whole rail trail thing. But when I was on the Zoom meeting 2 weeks ago, one thing that I did not like was I was one of the 125 people that was on the Zoom call. We couldn't see who was also on the Zoom call. So it
Mhm.
was
Yeah, the
very,
webinar thing.
it was very controlled by
Mm.
the selectmen, and I didn't like
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
I mean, I couldn't tell who else was on the Zoom call and who were my friends and who wasn't. And it was very like,
Well, they can't do something that size as a regular Zoom.
yeah, they can,
No,
Tim.
you can't. You got to
Yes,
do
you
it as a
can.
webinar.
What they've had a lot of trouble with is the Zoom bombing, though.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I
what-
guessed it was that.
I just felt like I was very excited to get on and then be able to like, anyway, that was from a
We-
Dover resident, I did not feel, I
Well,
felt
we have to
very,
have an in-person one
Yeah.
soon, and
Yeah, I
I
assume
haven't heard them say that they're gonna do one, so.
Yeah, but
Okay.
the assumption is that there'll be a public forum for that. And looking forward, Sarah, to your positive experiences on the trail.
no.
No, I'm serious. I know you've done great things with
I'm
Medfield.
the
Yeah,
convert. I've told you guys for the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
3 years, I'm the convert.
I haven't heard from Amy yet, but but we're waiting.
But speaking of
Oh,
that,
no, I was always for it. I want to protect the right of way next to the trail
Yes.
so that I can
Mhm.
ride my horse on the right of way. And then I want the edges hardened where I have to cross so I don't mess up the trail when I
Stu
cross
and
over
Amy
into
and-
Wildwoods.
well, that's
So-
where
so
we're gonna
this-
fight that. We're gonna,
This letter also claimed that there were trails alongside the rail trail, the rails.
Mhm.
And she doesn't understand that those are for horses, that you
Right.
can't really walk there safely.
Well, you could, but I'll run you over.
Yeah.
Are these the ones
and-
in Wildwoods or
and
the
it's
ones in
just-
Medfield?
No, it's the
No,
private property ones.
the ones in Dover, a good, at least on the,
North side.
Between Hunt Drive and Springdale, there's a trail along the edge. That's the right of way road that they used to use to repair or whatever the
Right, and is
railroad
it
tracks.
Is it soft?
Most of it, there's a section actually by the McCoys, which is horrendously rocky.
Mhm.
which is
so-
right behind my house. I mean,
Which
my
is
house,
why
I
I would
just-
always go into the McCoys and
Yeah.
avoid that section of it, but I made the mistake of doing it once and I thought I was.
I
my horse
just
was gonna have
remember
stone
walking
bruises forever.
part of it when I was on the rail trail committee 100 years ago. And it seemed like it was, it was sandy, it was soft, it was just not where you'd want to walk.
No, you don't want to walk on it, but it's
Right.
great for the horses because
Yeah, no,
sandy
I
is
know,
soft.
but it's just not.
Well, I think so.
not
Like your
suitable
neighbor
for-
said,
for
Tim. So
walking.
that's
It's like
education.
walking on the beach.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't
the-
want to be walking on the
Right,
beach for
yeah,
several
right.
miles.
Yeah, so I think, well, my sense from people I've talked to is the general sense is very pro. And then addressing neighbors' concerns and the idea of reaching out directly to abutters is appropriate. And, then although I did do at one point, I added up from Medfield to Needham, there were approximately 34 houses that were within 200 feet of the rail trail.
That makes
So
sense.
there's a very small percentage of houses and virtually none within 100 feet. But there are people where the rail trail sits above them by 30 feet or so. And and I can understand, in other towns, they've they put fences up. And then 3 years later, people take the fences down, or they put a gate in, or they do, something so they can
Yeah,
access it.
there are some near the what's it? Oh God, the road that loops around right near town.
Oh, Knollwood?
Yeah, and there are
Yeah.
some people who live in the back, the closest point
exactly.
there, who are
Yeah.
concerned because
Yeah.
you're really looking down into their yard.
Yeah.
And we said, okay, we'll put up a fence.
Yeah. No, and I've seen that in Needham. There are a few fences that went up, and then the whole fence came down. They're just
And the same in Medfield. I mean, the same
Yeah.
in Medfield. And,
Yeah.
and again, I was one of the negative ones 10 years ago. But all these, again, the people that bought these properties when the railroad was going, the potential railroad was going through and then it stopped. They made that choice. They made that chance that it wasn't going to go through again. So
There was never, frankly, there was never any chance
of the railroad. No,
that the
but
railroad was going to.
but they bought an easement.
They bought-
in the earlier days. They took that
They
chance.
took
They got
that
a lower
chance.
price. Not recently, but it used to be.
Yeah.
And but now there's over 30 years of experience where, as Tim said earlier, your value actually goes up. There are no crime issues. If there's a privacy issue, it's handled by vegetation or a fence. It's just all the detrimental things that people were bringing up originally have all been tested. They've been, and people have found out that that's not the problem. So
Yeah, it's just all scare.
but I'm tired because there's no place to walk in Dover.
Yeah,
We unlike those other towns, we don't have sidewalks.
right.
You walk on certain streets and you take your life into your hands. Why should we have to?
And you see the people who do. Like, I mean, I live on Farm Street, and my Tim and I are always like, "Oh my God, why is that woman jogging on Farm Street?"
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing yesterday.
Oh my God, like, why don't you go?
Are you
like,
trying to get run over?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's something that has happened over the last 40 years that no one had any control over, but it would be nice to have something where you can get away from that. And so I've raced bikes all over the place, and in the last few years, the only time I go between 5 and 6 at night, I don't even bother to go on the road anymore. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter where. It's just there's just too much traffic and cell phones. So
And our roads are really our streets are just too narrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are very few
And the
that are
trees have
wide
gotten
enough.
the trees have gotten bigger and bigger. There are trees on Farm Street, and when I'm biking in from the Medfield side, where they just want to reach out and grab me on a bike. I mean, they're right on the asphalt, if not over. So no, it's something that we clearly need. It would be really beneficial and it would help foster a greater sense of community, because that's what I've seen in other towns.
And I have to clear it again, but I have a path from my backyard right to the rail trail.
There you go. Okay, is there anything else that thank you, Janet, for the updates?
I have one more thing.
Mhm.
And it's more of an Amy thing, but
I just wanted to let you know, Sarah, it's 10:40.
I know, I apologize, but this Saturday at the Steeplechase course at 240 North Street, Open Space is offering a walk with the Norfolk Hounds.
Oh,
And
sweet.
so I'm offering it to you guys. If you guys have not seen Amy's or my email, we would love to see you at 9:30. Where I'm wearing multiple hats. And Amy, do you have anything else to say?
Please sign up on the Eventbrite so that we actually
know who's coming.
So,
is
so we know
that's-
who's coming, but also so you know where to meet us because
Is that Saturday or Sunday?
it's Saturday at 9:30.
9:30 at 240 North Street.
Mhm.
I'm already signed up on the Eventbrite, so I can tell you that is easy.
Awesome.
But it's
Great.
good. It's good for my record keeping, so I can easily write my town report.
And I apologize, Amy. I kind of did my blast and didn't like have a sign up, but anyway.
Well, I was mysteriously gifted a Norfolk Hunt Club calendar. And
I gave it to you. That was
I
my
know.
gift to you.
Thank you very
It
much,
was my
Lori.
Christmas gift to you.
Lori passed it on. And what's great about the pictures there is that, those are pretty intense dogs when they're, when they're out and about, but the pictures with kids show just how gentle and how well behaved they are.
Oh my God, they're lovely. No,
Yeah.
they're we call them hounds, but they're dogs and they're lovely and they're just, they're pack animals, but they're also they know what they're doing, but they love humans. So
Great.
Oh,
Well,
we gotta have
I
a
used-
chat.
I haven't heard them in a while, but I used to hear them all the time.
oh no,
Oh, right.
you hear them.
Same.
Tim, it's a good thing that you don't hear them. You hear them when they're actually on a line and hunting. We've got an amazing huntsman who got them under control.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
No, I would hear them when they were out on the trails.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
no.
In my backyard,
I know it is your backyard.
It was cool.
It's
cool.
right. It's right. It's hey, I mean, I'm as you all know, my main hat is the hunt club. And I love the hounds and I love being part of the hunt club. And I take it very seriously and I take the hounds very seriously. But
Great.
I love our neighbors more importantly. Like you guys are all our neighbors because Anna and Tim, you guys, you hear when things are awry and when things aren't awry, I like it. So.
Great. Well, thank you
Vega,
much.
do you get my emails or would you like me to email the link to you?
You can send the link to me.
I need to know your email then.
Right. Yes. It's ZAIGINA at Gmail.
ZAIG.
GIN as in Nancy A at Gmail.
Oh, that's easy. Okay.
So are you a neighbor too?
I live on Rocky Brook Road.
Oh, great. Okay.
Oh yeah, you mentioned.
So that's so not a close neighbor to the hunt club, but I have parents. I have a mom who loves horses and dogs, so
There you go.
I can't make the walk, but I'm sure she would probably like to. So
That's great. Again, the Conservation Commission has nothing to do with the hunt club.
right, I know.
All wear political hats. So
Yeah, well, I'm also on the Dover Town Report Committee, so it's a small town. We're all on.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, thank you everyone for your time and your presence. Is it Zyga?
Zyga, yes.
Zyga, okay. And hope to see you again. And hearing no objections, tonight's meeting is adjourned.
Good
Okay.
night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.
Right.